See, Queenie, you got like a Hollywood vibe. You know, the look looks good.
Is that what I have?
Yeah, it looks good. I'm just saying it has like a Hollywood glow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think.
All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. We want to welcome everyone. Thank everyone for joining us. This is our third edition of AK on Fire. To my right, I have Sweet Jones. We have from the relationship zone, we have Queenie. Next, we have Rico the Plug, and from the Ma'at Speaks YouTube channel, we have Ma'at Speaks. So the topic of today, or shall I say the subtext of today, is the Anthony Anderson. I don't want to spend too much time talking about Anthony Anderson and his divorce, but I did want to use it as the subtext of today's conversation. Anthony Anderson has been married to his wife for 22 years. They were, both of them are from Los Angeles. Both attended Howard. They were college sweethearts. Anthony Anderson dropped out his sophomore year. His wife went on to get a degree from Howard. She moved back to Los Angeles. The two of them were dating for a while. She supported his dream of becoming an actor, let him use her car to go to different auditions. He even crashed one of her vehicles. But the two of them were together from the very beginning. After 10 years of being together and having, I believe, 2 children together, the two got married. But it wasn't all peaches and cream. In 2014, his wife had filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. However, a couple of years later, the two were able to patch things up and get together. But now here we are again. It's April, but this was, I believe, filed in March of 2022. Again, she's filing for divorce for irreconcilable differences, and it doesn't seem like he is fighting for his marriage at this point. At this point, he's just like, hey, I give up. So using that as a subtext for today's conversation, how you can have two couples who struggle together and raise 2 successful kids and very wealthy family, and they can't seem to stay together. And when you look at the numbers for marriage and divorce, it's quite startling. Right? Let me see if I have some numbers. Almost 50% of all marriages in the United States will end in divorce or separation. 41% of all first marriages end in divorce. 60% of second marriages end in divorce, and 73% of all third marriages end in divorce. We have, the love in marriage. Americans love to get married, but we love to get divorced even more. Every 16 seconds, there's a marriage in the United States. That's 230 marriages per year, 38,000 per week, and over 2 million per year. It takes 2 minutes for couples to recite their wedding vows. And during that time, 3 divorces would have occurred in the United States. The average wedding reception is 5 hours. In America, you have 430 divorces in that same time span. The average duration of a romantic comedy is about 2.5 hours. And in America, you have 172 divorces in that time. And finally, every 40 seconds, there's 1 divorce in America. That's 86 divorces per hour, 2,000 per day, 14,000 per week, and 746,000 per year. Those are the statistics. They are pretty grim. And so I wanted to open the discussion up to the panel. And if you can look at the lower third where it says with Anthony Anderson at the bottom of your screen, it says that it is over. Fewer couples are choosing to get married. is marriage becoming a thing of the past? And so, Ma'at, I want to begin with you. Can you share your views on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the issue what you just named.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about wedding receptions. We're talking about all these lavish things that people go and do to get married. But then what are they actually putting into the actual marriage? It takes more than just saying I do. It takes a lot of work behind it. And that's with any relationship, right? Like any relationship takes work and consistency. A lot of time, you're not gonna always, you're not gonna always be happy with your partner. You're not gonna always be heads over heels. A lot of times, people want that. They want that constant feeling, those butterflies, to always be there. But when it really takes hard work to get like to stay married, it takes a lot of times we're looking for that other person to meet expectations that we haven't even shared with that person. You know, I can speak firsthand about that, but we are expecting people to meet the needs that we haven't even met for ourselves. And then on top of that, we're bringing in people who want certain things. They want a ready-made man or a ready-made woman, when that is just not reality. Most people have to build their relationship, build their marriage, build financially. All of these come into play. So as soon as something happens, as soon as we don't like certain things, as soon as someone is not living up to our expectations, then a lot of people are ready to walk out the door. So that's my first initial reaction to those statistics. Because when you talk about a reception, or you're talking about how much people spend on a wedding, or, you know, those are things that, you know, that's just the surface. That's like, you know, putting the makeup on, but then not working on yourself internally.
So, Sweet Jones, what do you say to that? Do you agree that that people are focused more on surface level, and they're not willing to put the work or the time that it takes to keep a marriage going? Are people more in love with the thought of being in love and the thought of going through the marriage and the ceremony, but not so much the behind the scenes hard work that it takes to make a marriage work?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with Maya speaks there. Everybody wants things to be easy for them, you know. I think we're all kind of, you know, guilty of that if we want to be honest with ourselves. But when it comes to like marriage or relationships in general, there's just way too much emphasis, I believe, placed on what the other person can do for you versus, you know, what I can do for my mate or my partner. You know, there's too many people that, just like I said, they just want it easy, and if it doesn't come easy, if it isn't easy to begin with, it's so much easier nowadays for people to just walk away. You know, it's so many people. It's a lot of people today feel like, you know, they can do bad by themselves, and it's like, you know, just in this day that we live in now, you know, most women, you know, they're getting it. You know what I'm saying? They're out here making a way for themselves, and they don't, you know, from traditional standards, they don't need a man as much or for as much as they might have once did. So for some of these women that are so quick to leave, that's why, you know, I think that's part of the reason why, I should say. But overall, it's definitely, I definitely agree with Maya. Everybody's looking for most people are looking for what the next person can do for them instead of what they can do for others. And it's a lot of emphasis on surface matters.
Queenie, do you agree or disagree?
No, I agree. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with both Jones and Ma'at because I think we've misplaced our values in relationships. We measure a man's value by what he can provide. We measure a man's value by a car he drives and the dollar amount. We got all this high value nonsense going on. We don't look at character. So I think we've just misplaced values. And I think that we don't value marriage the way that we did. But of course, we're talking 50, 60 years ago, because if we just look at the 60s to the 80s, the divorce rate jumped up by 400%. So if you think about that, it's been trending up for a long time, especially in the Black community. But of course, a lot of that is just because of accessibility and acceptability. It's acceptable to get a divorce where it used to not be. It used to be kind of frowned upon. Families tried to help keep you together. Now we move away from our families, so we're displaced, and we move amongst friends that are also divorced, and they romanticize what divorce looks like and what it can look like. Even if it's, traumatic for children, we still say, but girl, I can do bad by myself, as Joan said. And as the, guys will be like, I don't need that. I can go get, I can go to the candy store and get all the women. I don't need one. So I think we've just misplaced our values. So we've kind of, we don't look at marriage as what it really can do, not just for me or for you, but for our community, for our families, for our children, economically and otherwise. We don't really, and I'm just speaking in the Black community because whenever we compare the statistics, Black and white, it's a difference. And we divorce at higher rates, unfortunately, than almost any other race in comparison. So I just think it's sad, but it's been trending for a very long time. How do we get back to building family and having family at the forefront of the conversation? I think this is one of the ways, is having these talks and showing our children the benefit of family. But even that's difficult because the culture that we live in doesn't foster that. So we really are up against it. It's an uphill climb for bringing families back to the table.
You dropped a lot of nuggets, but I think the operative phrase in everything that you just uttered was misplaced values. We're going to double back and talk about that. Rick, what you got?
I do like that you said that that's the operative phrase, because I often say that people focus on the destination more so than the journey to. If I was to say, me and my lady went on a road trip, people go, they say, what'd you do last weekend? Oh, we went on a road trip. People say, well, where'd you go? Right? Suppose we just went on a road trip. Suppose we just rode, right? And we just enjoyed each other's company. Everybody's like so destination driven, accomplishment driven. You want to get on a plane, go somewhere. To me, if I'm with someone that I care about, it doesn't matter where we're going. Like, if we're not going to a war zone, like, it doesn't matter. The most important thing should be who you are traveling with, more so than where you're going. You want the bigger house or whatever. But I want to double back to them though, because I don't think any of this, I don't think a lot of that stuff applies to them per se. They got plenty of money. They've done, I'm sure, lots of nice things. I do think it's ironic that that she filed for divorce citing irreconcilable differences, but yet they found a way to reconcile. Right. And then go on for another 8 years. And now irreconcilable differences also. And my question to them would be, I actually revealed to you that one of my relatives have revealed to me that her and her guy were going separate ways. It's like, what are you going to do? What do you think is going to happen? Because I tell people I'm single out here. I don't know what people think is gonna happen. It ain't so great. It ain't so great. So what are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna find somebody, you're gonna spend the rest of your days looking for somebody who knows you as well as the person who knew you, but didn't do this one thing or whatever, right? I don't know after that amount of time what you're looking for. If there's no violence involved, then you guys need to sit down with someone other than a lawyer. Sit down with a counselor, and that's, if I don't make you happy, you're not gonna make me happy, and vice versa. So I don't know what these people that are getting divorces after 20 years really think their life is gonna be like. You think you're gonna turn up? That's gonna last for a good weekend, and then what? I mean, I'm not out here advocating for marriage, but I'm telling anybody, if you've been married for 10 years and it ain't great, then all you're telling me is that it ain't horrible. And you need to figure out just how to make it a little better or something. Because it ain't great out here.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that people tend to have a fanciful notion of marriage. And when I say people, I'm sorry, sisters, it's a lot of women who have a fanciful idea of marriage and that things are going to be perfect. I was in one chat group, and a few of the sisters were saying that, they didn't agree with this notion that marriage is hard work. And they said that if a person believes that marriage is hard work, then they shouldn't be married. And, a number of other sisters chimed in, and they were agreeing. And I was saying, well, look, if it were easy, everybody would have it. And marriage is hard work, and anything worth having is worth putting time and effort in. I mean, that type of mentality explains the reason why people get divorced so easily. And it's mainly women, because women, by and large, initiate divorce at a rate of like anywhere from 70 to 80%. There's several different studies. Some studies have it at a rate of 70%, some at 80%. And they're getting divorced for everything. Oh, his breath stink. Oh, girl, leave him. Oh, he don't cut his toenails. Girl, you got to leave him. It's different. It's different from the way, at least in my experience, listening to women talk to women. When men talk to men, we tell each other, hey man, you got to stick it out. You don't want another man raising your kids. It's cheaper to keep her. It ain't nothing out here in the streets, man. You just might as well just go ahead and stay where you at and try to make it work. So the conversation that we as men are having with each other is a lot different from the conversation that women are having from each other. And Queenie, you said something where you said people are romanticizing divorce. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'll bring up some stats to talk about that, because that is true. So the number of Americans who aren't married or never getting married is at an all-time high. And if we continue on this trajectory, married couples will be a minority in America. So more people will either not be married, sleeping around, playing the field, or just cohabitating. But the number of married couples is shrinking. Give me 1 second. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. So the number of married couples is shrinking. And part of that reason, when Queenie mentioned misplaced values, is that fewer and fewer people are religious nowadays. Like, I know some people are either agnostic. You have some people who are atheists. You have some people who engage in Pascal's wager. Some people who are just not that religious. But what religion has always done is it's always bound people together, primarily families, and it created norms and taboos, right? So having a child out of wedlock was taboo. Cohabitating, living with each other in sin was taboo. But now everything has become normalized and accepted. And when everything is accepted, you tend to have chaos, and we're starting to witness the effects of accepting everything or being too accepting. So you have a second reason is that women are not raised with the goal of marriage in their mind. And again, Queenie, to touch on something that you mentioned, you said that 40, 50, 60 years ago, everybody was getting married. Well, young girls were raised to be married, to think about marriage, right? Because back then, I think they appreciated science a little bit better than we do today. And, with women, you're born with all the eggs that you're going to have, and you only have a finite period in which to have children, right? I mean, once you start getting into your 30s and mid to late 30s, by 34, it's considered geriatric pregnancy. And the older you get, the harder it's going to become to conceive, and you have a higher probability of having a fetus with abnormal chromosomes, which is the reason why the older you get, you have a higher probability of having a child with Down syndrome, right? So there's that, and then the third reason is that many people don't feel like they're financially stable enough to get married. The thought of marriage is frightening for some guys because, on average, you're looking at, to get married, it costs anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 on average to get married. And then you spend a lot of money on the honeymoon, and you'll be surprised, but a lot of people spend a lot of money on getting married, and there's no money for a down payment on a house, and they're living in an apartment, and then they're living check to check, and finances are one of is a big reason for why couples begin to have problems. But I want to bring it back to the panel. Queenie, I will start with you. Can you give us some reasons that you believe that that women either file for divorce or they terminate their relationship?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's a variety of reasons. Again, I believe we've been trending this way for a long time with the feminism movement. We've been liberated. We have, we're educated. We oftentimes Black women are above most Black men as it relates to education. And so our opportunities are there. And you're right, maybe we're not raised the same traditional way to think about finding that husband to care for us, because now we have the opportunity to care for ourselves, which is not all bad, right? It's not all bad. It's just really about finding balance, find the value in marriage. So if you don't find a value in marriage, then, you can make it single. You're fine. You can just, do your thing. But I think that some of us divorce. I'm divorced, and I think some of us divorce for a variety of reasons. And I said earlier, it's acceptable, and I have access to it, and I can afford to to go file for my divorce. But I also think behaviorally, and sociologically, we look at, do we want to put up with whatever's going on in that marriage? Sometimes our children grow up and we realize that we don't even know our partner. I don't think women divorce because women just want to be divorced. I believe that there are actions within the marriage that we respond to. And it's unfortunate because sometimes
see. This is
Yeah,
frozen.
we got a little freeze action going
Yeah,
on.
let me let her know.
I was trained to get it. They're not.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're
Yeah,
good.
you froze for a moment.
Oh, okay.
No,
I'm sorry.
so just repeat what you said. The last 20 seconds of what you said.
I was just saying that I don't believe that. I don't want to put men against women. I don't believe that, I believe that women divorce based on some behaviors or something going on in the marriage or a lack of something in that marriage. Lack of communication is one of the biggest pieces as to why our relationships end. So we know that has something to do with why divorce even happens. Understanding what's going on. I don't think men are necessarily as intuitive as women. So they don't always get it. They don't always see what's been going on, what's been progressing for the last 10 years. As our children are leaving the nest, and now you look at each other and you have no idea who the other person is. But I also think, with the exception of, there's mental health and there's all those crises that happen. Life happens. We grow apart. When we go back to the Anthony Anderson situation, there, as Ricardo said, like their issues probably weren't ours, right? Not ours, but their issues are big enough for divorce, right? Because they have everything, so we think, but if inside that marriage, commitment isn't there, respect isn't there, love isn't there, if there's infidelity there, this is, why this is happening. But even they could grow apart. Even they could feel like they're underappreciated. And I believe that's why some of us women divorce. And if you look at the statistic, you look at the surveys, women, we tell our stories. Unfortunately, I don't think enough men really hear it in the relationship before resentment sets in.
Before I go to Sweet Jones, I have to push back on that a little bit.
I get it.
I have to push back on that. I think, the problem is that so often, or a lot of women were raised to compete with men more so than they were to cooperate with men. And from the time they were young, they were told that you have to go out and get your education. You can't trust a man. You want to be prepared if a man leaves, that you're okay. And when you hear that, when you're taught that growing up, it penetrates your subconscious, and it could eventually become a self-fulfilling prophecy, because it's very hard for a man to deal with a woman who has been indoctrinated and not trusting a man for 30 years. So I can be a perfect man, and the one time I make a mistake, all of that indoctrination comes in full effect. And to your point, when it comes to communicating, yes, it's true. Men and women communicate differently, but I would dare to say that most men feel like, hey, they tell a woman what's on their mind, and sometimes women expect the men to know what's on their mind, and so there's a gap in communication. And say for example, most men are blindsided by divorce. See, if a man is going to file for divorce, in most cases, his behavior shows it. It's coming. But with the woman, some guys think like, hey, I didn't know we had a problem. And I've worked with women who, they'll complain about their marriage. I'm like, well, does he know? So it's sad because all women, most of their girlfriends know that this divorce is impending before their husband ever knows. And so I just had to push back a little bit. Sweet Jones, I don't want to eat too much into your time. What you got on it?
Well, I think when Queenie started off, she mentioned communication. And communication, I think that is huge. You know what I'm saying? There are many factors that go into relationships and marriages and things like that. But man, if the communication is not there, everything else is going to suffer, and everything will suffer, whether it's the respect, whether it's the intimacy, whether it's the loyalty, all of that is going to suffer if you can't communicate with your partner. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's interesting that, you know, that you mentioned the competition thing, because, you know, I haven't really given that much thought, to be honest with you, over time, but I think I gotta agree with that. You know what I'm saying? And even as the father of a daughter, you know what I'm saying? I'm telling her those same things. You know, you got to be able to be self-sufficient. You got to be able, when you go on these dates, you know what I'm saying? Be prepared to pay for your own stuff. Don't give a man any reason to think you owe him anything. You know what I'm saying? If you need it, call me, I'll give it to you. You know what I'm saying? But don't be so quick to just, you know, be accepting of, you know, somebody being able to buy you and do this kind of thing, because, you know, we all have we all have our reasons, you know, for why we think that is. But I just think that competition thing, like I've even kind of put it into my kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, just don't position yourself to be an inferior individual in a relationship. You know, try to be equal. You know, try to do your part. Don't go into a situation where somebody has to carry you. You know, and I don't know. I mean, it comes from a place of protection. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we have got to get that communication thing together, or it's not gonna work.
Right.
It's not gonna work.
Right. Maud?
Yeah, so many things I want to touch on. So I'll start with the communication. That's the easiest thing to touch on right now. So yeah, communication, because we communicate differently. And so that's something, like, in my marriage that I have learned just recently. So I think that when we communicate as mostly, like, we're, as women, we're mostly feminine, and then men mostly masculine. A lot of times what we do as women is that we do try to communicate to that masculinity. So we try to be aggressive when we communicate with certain things. So there's a couple of things that we'll do. We'll either not communicate at all because we think that they should, you were saying, like, we should expect them to know what's on our mind. Like, that's something that recently I had to throw away. Expectation, like, you should know. Like, we've been married long enough for you to know what's on my mind. Mm-hmm. And so then what happens is then we get to a point where we're so frustrated because you should already know what I'm thinking, that then it turns into kind of an aggressive kind of thing, more of a masculine, like, I'm trying to go at you with my masculine energy. Mm-hmm. When I think of the whole concept of women, a woman's power is in our femininity, and it's in that concept of it's in that concept, like in the biblical story, Samson and Delilah, that I use my femininity to not necessarily get what I want, but I'm using my femininity to kind of lower your guard. Mm-hmm. So once you lower that man's guard, then you're able to communicate more efficiently, as opposed to, I'm going to go in and I'm going to say whatever I got to say. I'm going to tackle your masculinity. That's not, and as talking to other men, knowing that when a masculine energy meets with another masculine energy, what happens, what that can turn into. So right. I know the men can speak on that.
It's true, and I'm going to let you continue. But with men, aggression meets aggression,
right?
And that's just how we are, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there are many things that women can say. If they weren't women, if they were another man, they'd be swallowing teeth, and that's how men are. And I don't want to eat too much into your time, but oftentimes, a lot of women think that by being harsh and I don't want to say attacking, but being harsh and being very critical is a way to get a man to see their point. and it doesn't work. I mean, you can't make somebody, when you put somebody on the defensive, they've already shut down. They're not listening to you. And so I think that by complaining and nagging, it has the opposite of effect, because you got 3 men here on the panel. I don't know any man that wants to be around another man that whines and complains. We just don't like it. You know, if you have a problem, you better have a solution. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it. Staying in my line?
No, sir. Not at all.
So go ahead and continue. I don't want to go ahead and continue.
Yeah. So that's interesting too, because the whole concept of the kind of like the nagging wife and things like that. Because I mean, even our kids, we don't, like, as women, we don't want our kids to be whining and, you know, nagging. So I understand that. But when you spoke about the men and women compete, now that is very true. And then even when Sweet Jones brought up how he teaches his daughter, that is something that they are saying, that a lot of women who are acting the way that they are, masculine, you know, masculine energy, that's coming from men teaching their daughters that, you know, don't rely on men. Now, of course, you have women who teach their daughters. I know me growing up, there's another piece we have to add into there, that, you know, also, you know, the whole concept of white men being kind of the savior, like they're the ones that can take care of you. Mm-hmm. So you also grow up with the concept of you need to take care of yourself, because these black men are not going to be able to take care of you. These black men are not, you know, you can't rely on them. But then you also have the other piece. But if you want somebody to take care of you, go get a white man, because the white man is going to be able to take care of you. So you have those pieces that have been, you know, given to us as little girls. So from all these different points of view, it's hard to keep the Black family, you know, intact, because we have all of these different pieces coming at us. So my father might be saying, you know, not rely on a man, because he doesn't want you to rely on a man to the point where, you know, he's feeling
not aimed at.
Yeah. And then you have your mother, who might have been mistreated by a man. So she's telling you that as well. So, you know, you have all of these different things, but what the word that you used was inferiority. And I think that we have to understand that it's not about the woman being inferior. It's more of, we have different strengths. Mm-hmm. So if we understand the different strengths in a relationship, because if you're saying, I'm protecting my daughter by telling her this, but then she grows up and she gets a man and she doesn't feel like she can be protected, you know, that's gonna be a clash. Mm-hmm. Because you want to release her into someone else who can protect her. Right. So I think those are a lot of different things that we have to think about, as far as like, I want to release her into someone who can protect her, not that she's inferior. But we live in a world where men have they have strength, like that we don't necessarily have, but we have strengths in other areas. Right. And go ahead.
No, I agree. And before I move on to Rick, I will say that part of the reason why I wanted this platform to be this way is because I feel like a lot of men and women, our relationship is more transactional than it is cooperative. And I believe that, you know, a lot of women, they live in echo chambers. They repeat, they hear the same thing over and over again, right? And I think that if more men and women had friendships that, you know, not based on sex. I know it's hard for, you know, for men, sometimes are attracted to the women, but if you have a genuine friendship where you're exposed to opinions from the other side, I think that's invaluable, rather than us just looking at women for a sexual opportunity and women looking at us for financial come up, you know. Rick, what you got?
Man, I'm all over the place. I've been itching over here.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So I'm gonna start with the last thing you said. I hear this all the time. I really don't think that guys are as focused on sex as a lot of people think. We've been guys, yeah, we see a woman, we're attracted to her, we want to have sex with her, but it's not where it starts or where it ends. You see a woman and I don't think most guys see a woman and just go, I want to have sex with her and that's it. You see a woman and what you think is that she's this perfect vessel, right? Now a lot of, I know you two have been guilty of it too back in the days. You see a woman and you go, man, she is gorgeous. I would marry her, right? That's what you think, right? Then you get to know her and you go, okay, well, maybe not, because I just saw her do something that was, maybe she's a little too costly, or maybe she's a little too, maybe that if I could just get, maybe if I could get through her guards, and then, yeah, maybe not, maybe I don't want to keep her around so long, but, oh, maybe she'll change a little bit after we have sex, or, oh, no, she didn't. Okay, well, at least I got the cheeks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that, like, men just look at a woman and be like, hey, man, I just want to drop some seeds over here, drop some seeds over there. That's one thing. And I think that we can't get very far in a lot of conversations because a lot of women, when I'm trying to talk to them, they equate everything, they censor everything a man does around sex. And I tell people that even since I was a youngin', it was the things you did that made me want to have sex with you more than how you presented, like how you physically present. That's just the starting point, because there's always that initial attraction. That's what's going to pique your curiosity. Oh, they look nice. I wonder what type of person they are. Am I freezing up? Because I see.
No, you're good. I'll let you know.
Okay. I think that there's always the initial attraction, but I think that works both ways. I think women experience that initial attraction as well. And then they start to dig and try to check, the layers. Right. And then, so, I think that once you get vested a little bit, oh man, I done spent a couple weeks talking to her on the phone, never started going, well, what can I salvage out of this? Right. And then you start being like a scrap guy. Like you start going, can I salvage something out of this, right? And then, now our timelines might be different. While you are growing less patient, she may be growing accustomed to you. And so by the time y'all link it up, you might be done with her and she may be just getting used to you, because we are looking at things differently. But I know that most guys are not just focused on sex unless you present as simply a sex object. And I think that that's just not something that we look at every woman and see. Some women present as, if we can see that you got the tummy tuck and you got the BBL and you got the breast implants and you got the fake hair, we see that you want our attention. And we see that you want, and your pictures are all you got it tooted out in every picture. We see that's where you want us to focus. That's where we're going to focus. But if you present different, I'm looking at my background, right? Ain't no dude walking up to her talking about sex off the break. He going to talk to her about hermetic principles and all kinds of other stuff. He's not talking to her about sex off the break. Ain't no dude going to walk up to Queenie. Queenie just look different. You're not going to walk up to her and talk to her about sex off the break. Even if she got the leather pants on, you not coming at her. Now that drunk dude might, but he not a representative for all of us.
Right. Get off my Instagram.
Huh? What'd you say?
Get off my Instagram.
Get off your Instagram. Okay, I'm going now. I'm going now. You better block me while you got a chance. But look, hey, I'm a guy. What they say, Raphael Sadiq, I'm still a man. But in that, man, I do have many levels, many layers. Now, you talked about protecting your daughter. I think that, and my aunt talked about feminine energy, right? So she said she used her feminine energy to lower the guard. But I want to talk about that with the protection, right? I don't think that the feminine energy lowers a man's guard as much as it pieces his soul. Because we in it for the feminine energy. That's what we in it for. You give us that, we give you everything else. So, like, you are not lesser than when you express your feminine energy. And if you teach a woman to operate within her feminine, she don't have to be as strong as a man because she got every man. We can hear it in her voice and see it in her eyes. We're going to jump. We're going to jump. We can see it because I know we all been out and seen some people getting into some stuff, and you stop your antenna go up, you check out the situation, and then you hear her sounding like she been done 4 life sentences in prison, and you go, right? I'm not getting involved with that because her energy is ugly. So you're not gonna come to her rescue. Oh, she sounds strong as me. We in it for feminine energy. And I heard a lady the other day on some broadcast, and she was talking about how much of a woman she was, and she degreed and all this and that. And then a man said something she didn't like, and her Jamaican side came out, and she told him, she said, "Go suck your mother." Now, if she had 10,000 men interested in her in that one brief moment, that all went away. I don't want a woman that's going to tell a man, "Go suck your mother." I don't, because you could just the look of dissatisfaction from a woman is such a powerful thing from a man. You ain't got to out-argue me. If you just looking let down will break a man down.
Right.
You look let down. And that dude will be like, what? When he go and get hit in his private place, he's going to say, "What did I do? What did I do?" But if you give him masculine energy back, he's never going to get to that place.
Right.
This sword is not more valuable than the sheath. Without the sheath, the sword will rust. It will cut its handler. It's just so many things. The sheath is just as valuable as the sword.
Right.
And you're not gonna put 2 swords together. They're not gonna protect one another. It's just gonna be problems. They're gonna dull one another. They're gonna dent one another, whatever. Sword, sheath, woman, man. All of that other stuff is just gonna cause problems. It's just gonna weaken things. That's what I think. I missed up. I forgot a whole bunch of stuff, and I've been a long time. I had so many things to say about what Queenie said, but now I done actually kind of forgot.
No, you good. You have another point to make. After that, I'm gonna say a few things and then go to a video. You have anything additional?
God, I wanted to touch on something that Queen said. I can't remember.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead. Huh?
Okay. Before you go to the video, I just want to bring up a point, if I could.
Sure.
If that's okay, and I'll be brief. I heard you talk about competition. See, this is what I'm saying about communication and how we perceive what's being said, right? The listener. This is what I'm hearing. AK said competition. Jones said protection. Same exact thing that we're doing. We're teaching our children the same thing, but AK delivered it as competition between men and women. And Jones is telling us that he's trying to protect his daughters. But what are you protecting them from? Because trust me, I try to protect mine. My grandmother tried to protect me, right? We all want our daughters to not have to depend on a man that's going to ultimately possibly let them down. We do not want her to be a servant to a man that is no good for her. Mm-hmm. We're trying to teach her independence. So when I heard AK say competition, which I'm not saying that that's not a thing. I just don't think that some of us are intentionally raising our girls to compete with men. We're raising our girls to fight for equality and equity in this space that we live in, and unfortunately bleeds over into relationships with their partner as well. But I just wanted to bring that point up, how we're both talking about the same thing, but Jones delivered it as protection and AK delivered it as competition.
Well, I think the difference is, the thing is, what Stan is talking about is he's talking about the intent. And I'm talking about the effect. And it's two different things, right? Because I tell my girls the same thing. I've told my girls the same thing. You know, I want them to be armed, that to where no matter what happens in life, they're going to be okay. But if that's where you leave it, what you're doing is causing them to subconsciously not trust a man. And there are a lot of women who just don't trust men, right? They feel like, again, you know, you have women who are raised thinking that a man is going to leave. So some women, they want to leave you. Hold on 1 second. They want to leave you before you leave them, right? And what I'm trying to get to is I'm trying to get to a point where we block out all the outside noise. Because women have each other as a support system in a way that men don't necessarily. We don't necessarily, if a man is going to say, for example, Rig is married and he's going through a divorce, he's not going to tell his boys all his business. He's not going to lean on them for support. Yeah, right. The way that women will, and that's the reason why. I'm
certainly not gonna tell my boys that my woman cheated on me.
Right, because now everybody's like, man, he ain't doing right. He ain't putting it down right, man. You have some dudes try to snake you. They be like, well, if she lose like that, maybe I got a chance. You see what I'm saying? But but
we ain't doing that.
Right. So a man will suffer in silence and he'll try to figure it out. Whereas women, they lean on each other. And Leia, I know you want to jump in real quick before I go to the video, but women also have to understand that not all women have your best interest in mind. Relationship envy is a real thing. Marriage envy is a real thing. Pregnancy envy is a real thing. Those are real things. These are things that men don't have to deal with. No man cares if I say, hey, man, I'm getting engaged. Good for you, my G. It has nothing to do with me. Like, I'm happy for you. But with women, it's totally different. Because then they start sizing you up. Well, I look better than her. Why her and not me? This is the way some women think. I mean,
we had a friend.
Okay.
Yeah, there are exceptions to the rule.
Oh yeah. That we had a friend that was like that, because normally you don't have too many guys like that. But we had a friend that
we compared him to a woman.
Yeah. All the time. But we're not gonna talk about him.
Okay,
go ahead, Maude.
My bad.
I just wanted to touch on it just briefly, because I think it's the translation of it. Mm-hmm. So, and I think you just said that, like you're talking about the effects, because men and women competing usually when we talk to our daughters, or we even talk to our sons and we say certain things, we're not saying you need to compete, but that's what it's going to be translated as. It's just like, for years, let's say somebody was drinking something. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to say anything particular, but let's say that for years your grandmother was drinking a toxin, and then it might have translated in her body differently than it's translating in that grandchild's body differently. So we're still drinking kind of the same poison, but it's just translating differently. She might have not have gotten seriously ill from it. It was affecting her, but not in the same way that it's affecting me right now. So I think we also have to be careful of projecting our own personal experiences onto our children. So my grandmother was a married woman. she didn't have a marriage that people were like, oh, we want that marriage. But she would say certain things to her grandchildren, and it was a projection because of her own relationship. And so when we have these conversations with our girls, and I think when we talk about protection, we have to make sure that we do it in a way where they understand that the qualities. I think we need to speak more of the qualities of that man, as opposed to don't depend on a man at all. You know, just what are the qualities of a man that is deserving of your affection? I think that's more of the conversation that we could have, as opposed to do your own thing, make sure you're good, make sure you have a stack, make sure you save up, because, you know, a man could leave you at the drop of a dime, because that is you are subconsciously now thinking that a man could do that to me. And whether it's conscious or subconscious, that is still a part of your psyche as a little girl and now as an adult.
Right.
Okay. All right. I know you want to get to the video, but I like something she just said, and I want to use that.
Okay. You got 45 seconds.
Because what you're saying, what all of you are saying, did you say what now?
You got 45 seconds.
45 seconds. All right. What you're saying is you told your daughters, and Stan told his daughters, and I've been told, you've been told, she's been told, these things diminish your value. Because if you operate in your zone, you're going to have value no matter what. So let's say, for example, there was a relationship that I was in. I met the young lady. I said, listen, it's not a good time. It's not a good time. And she just kept coming around. It's not a good time. It's not a good time. So we hung out, whatever. My life was falling apart, and it was going down. And it was not going to come up because it was still going down. And it had to continue going down for a while before I could get it back up. And I knew that, right? But she saw it different. And I was with her, and she reminded me over and over again of my value. And it wasn't just because she was pumping my head up, because regardless, I wasn't going to let somebody put me in a space and I not function as a man. I wasn't going to be sitting around like, woe is me, you know? So I didn't have a job and I didn't have money because I was losing money. My business was going out of business. It was bleeding. But at the same time, she had a tree at her house and a branch was over her roof, and I saw it and I asked her about it, and she said, yeah, I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do with it. I said, I don't know what to do with it either, but I'm not doing anything tomorrow. I'm going to, give it a shot and see what's going on. And then I ended up cutting that branch down, and then ultimately ended up cutting the tree down, and I had never cut down a tree before in my life. And then she had a bathroom in her basement that the door was always closed. What's going on with the bathroom? Oh, the toilet and the sink. And then, okay, I don't know nothing about that stuff, but I have time. So I fixed the toilet. And then, there were other things. Now, I wasn't trying to trade off for what I could not bring to the relationship or the fact that I couldn't. I was operating in my, I was being a man. It had to do with whether I had money, and I was being a man. And she said that, my aunt said that they tell women that a man could leave you at the drop of a dime. Well, it's funny because if you were walking and you saw a dime and if you had space for a dime in your life, you would pick it up. A dime's gonna get picked up every time. Pennies get picked up. A dime's gonna get picked up every time. So if a woman is operating in her femininity, if she gets dropped by a guy, I'm telling you, there's 100 of me around every corner looking for a dime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's 100 of me. So There's not 100 of me around every corner looking for a woman with a master's degree. If you got that, like women ask me that, hey, you know, don't you think it's good that I got my master's degree? I think it's good because you want it. I want you to have what you want, but I don't care about your master's degree.
Right.
I'm glad you like it,
Right.
but it doesn't serve me.
Right.
But when you operate in your femininity, regardless of the fact that you have a master's degree, then you are the bomb. And you'll never hear me speak on your master's degree. I'm not gonna say, hey, my woman, hey, you seen me in a relationship. I remember Abe was just fascinated about me in a relationship. And Abe said, man, what Rick be doing, man? He be slapping this woman or something, man, because she when you came in the house, she took care of you. Mm-hmm. That's because she didn't have nothing to worry about. She didn't have to be a man. That's all she had to do was bring my company a cup of water and get out the way and come back a little while later and ask if you want something to eat. That wasn't because I demanded that. That's because I operated as a man. And she wasn't trying to let that go. That's why you had to ask that question, what's going on? I never told her, go get my man some water. Make sure everybody good in the living room. No, I didn't do that. Mm-hmm. I did my stuff. She ain't have to ask me to do my stuff. Right. And if I did do my stuff and she looked at me like she was let down, tomorrow I did my shit twice.
Right.
She came to me and was like, hey man, you a loser of a dude. All right, I'm gonna stay right there. We're gonna stay right on loser street.
Right. I'm gonna say this and then go on to the video.
Okay.
And a lot of women just don't understand that. You know, a lot of brothers, men, really are really proud of sisters when they do well, they get their education, they get their jobs. But it's hard to be a pom-pom girl or be a cheerleader when you damn near about to break your rotator cuff patting yourself on the back. Like arrogance is not flattery. You know what I mean? Sometimes if you're a smart person, let someone else say that you're a smart person. You don't have to go around saying, I am so smart, I am so intelligent. That is just the height of arrogance. And a lot of these women out here that break their shoulder, rotator cuff, trying to pat themselves on the back and talk about how smart they are. And then when you really get down to it, you're like, well, how smart are you really? You got 2-3 degrees. You got $160,000 of student loan debt, making an $80,000, $90,000 a year job. That doesn't seem very, very smart. I mean, you don't want to throw that in their face, but you know, sometimes it just
you should be able to though.
Well, sometimes it just pays. It pays to be humble. All I'm saying is, like, the unnecessary braggadocio, bravado, it's a little bit too much. But let me go ahead and press on because we're behind on this video. I will say so. One of the stats here says rich folks and celebrities are the most common to be married and the most likely to be in a relationship because they have nothing to worry about. So, I mean, as much as we talk about some of the dysfunctional relationships in Hollywood, celebrities tend to be married for a much longer period of time than most of us in the general population. Another factor is that, you know, they have money. And when rich people have money, small problems don't become big problems like they do when you're broke. Or when you don't have as much money. And sometimes it could be as little as maybe one partner's expectation of where they want to be financially is too high or doesn't match their spouse, right? And you know, the other thing is that again, more people are choosing to live together and to cohabitate, and the more people cohabitate, the less likely they are to get married. But let me go to this video. Let me see. Take this off. A second. Okay. So put that. And I want you all to tell me what you think, right?
You have a stable man. Because if he don't have those things in check, it's a wrap. You got to have a stable man.
Hold on.
Remember, whenever you meet a guy, the first thing that you want to make sure that's in check: finances, career, accomplishments. Very, very important. If you want to have a healthy relationship, it is very important that those three things are in check when you meet a guy. Because one thing, a man is a very unhappy man if his money is not right, if his career goals are not right, and if his accomplishments are not right. Remember, a man's ego is about what he has accomplished in life, how much money he has in the bank. So if he does not have those three items in check, I can almost assure you, you're going to get a very unhappy man, which is going to take all of his frustrations and emotions out on you, which is going to cause you to be very, very miserable. So with that being said, when you meet a guy, make sure finances, career, accomplishments are in check, because then you have a stable man. Because if he don't have those things in check, it's a wrap. You got a man, a miserable man. Okay? Remember that.
All right.
She did what she said.
Quinny, I'm going to start with you. What are your thoughts?
Why you gonna start with me? All right. So I got a few thoughts. Like, age is a factor here. I don't think when I was 20 did I even think about that, right? That woman looks like she's probably definitely over 40. So she's lived. Her experiences are different. I do believe, delivery is everything, right? I don't care for Mr. Kevin Samuel's delivery. I don't care for a lot of delivery of a lot of things, a lot of information that we are out here sharing. So delivery is everything. I understand where she's coming from. I just think that you have such a broad audience that's going to hear that, and they're going to be thinking that in their 25. My 23-year-old son don't know what the hell he's doing. He has nothing going for himself. And if his lady believes that he needs to have all these things in place, it's just going to be a mess. So I do believe that, one, we have to look at the demographic and the generation that she's probably really, really trying to talk to. But is that man miserable if he does not have those three things? I'm not a man, but I do know this. I have definitely, I have amazing men in my life and brothers, and my father was my number one. And I do know if he did not have his money right, and if he did not feel that he could provide, he was very unhappy and he was irritable and he would be frustrated because the demands of the world never stop coming. So will you have a miserable man at home? You might. It depends on really where he places the value of those things in his life. Men want to protect and provide and all these other things. It's what I've learned, and I'll just say that just from having my father for so long in my life. Delivery is everything. I get what she's saying, but again, I'm not a man. I would never advise a woman that way. But I think that 40, and above, we want to come into the relationship with something. Whatever that something is, I think we want to feel that we are bringing something to the person that we are entertaining or that we're pursuing. So I do think that, I'm 40 plus years old. I work. And if I didn't, and I didn't have anything to offer, or if I didn't understand the value that my absolute presence bring, then I would probably not be so happy either. And I probably wouldn't date. I probably wouldn't even bother to get in the ring, because I would want to be able to build into my partner's life. And I also want you to meet me in my best self. So I get what she's saying. I just think delivery is everything. Sorry.
As a man, I actually agree with what she said. I agree with what she said. I mean, if you're a man, there's a lot of pressure on men. And if you're a man and, men, when you get a certain age, you start thinking about legacy. For men, marriage and children is all about legacy. And, if things are not where you want them to be, then she's right. I mean, everything is just, you eat cereal don't taste right. You know, ice ain't cold enough. Like everything is upside down. And so, I tend to agree with her.
Did he say the ice isn't cold enough?
Ice ain't cold enough. Cereal, you know, the sugar ain't sweet enough. This things just, everything is just backwards. Stan, is she right or is she wrong?
Bruh, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I gotta defer to Ricardo, man. Come back to me, man.
Okay.
Rick got it on his mind, man. I see. You gotta give it to him. You gotta give it to him.
Okay. Rick, give it to us.
This,
You disagree?
I did agree for a long time. I spoke on that situation. I was not a happy person. This gorgeous lady was talking to me, and I was like, ma'am, you don't want this. I never felt so good as when I walked up to her doorsteps. When I tell you that I knew I was doing something right because she greeted me every time I came in her house. And this ain't like, oh, it was once in a while. I'm talking about it wasn't long before I was over her house every day. Before I would say, hey, I got to go past my house. And she'd say, why? Right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't long. And every day when I got off work or if I was at her house before she got to her house, when she walked in the house, or she had a split foyer, she never walked in her door and I was just somewhere in her house. I was at the steps, coming down the steps, meeting her at the door. Or when I was coming in her house, she was at the steps, coming down the steps, meeting me. And we met each other at the door like we hadn't seen each other for a couple weeks. And I saw her earlier that day. And I think that I didn't have more money. I didn't have more money 6 months after we were talking to each other. I had less. I think that how you feel about yourself as a man doesn't have as much to do with the money as it does with meeting the needs. And whether or not you feel like you're meeting the need don't have to be money. And there's stuff to be done. I ask you this, I don't know, but here's a good question. What did Richard Williams do for a living?
I not know.
Nobody knows.
Serena and Venus dad?
What everybody knows is that he had his butt out there on the tennis court with them girls. So he didn't have a job. He brought value to that household. And what he did gave that family, helped provide a legacy for that family. So there was value in Richard Williams outside of his job, if he had one. I don't know what Tiger Woods' dad did for a living. But I know he was somewhat well off. But that's not the most significant thing he did, though. The most significant thing he did was groom his son. And I know a dude that live on the street behind me that I rarely want to even walk down that street. But this dude walk his kids to school every day. All of them. The high school. He walks them all to school. They walk each other. And he pick them up. He ain't got no job. He be drawing on T-shirts and hats, trying to sell them feebly because, you know, some people buy them, but most people don't. But he's with his kids every day. And his children's mother, because whatever, they keep making babies together, but they supposedly not in a relationship, she go to work. But he's influencing them kids. So he's providing value. And so I think that when a man is damaged because of his lack of money, it's because of the pressure that's being put on him, right? So that woman didn't put pressure on me about money because she needed money, but she had money before. What she never had was a dude that, you know, was focused like I was. She had dudes that took her on trips before, but when she came back, the roof was still leaking. The ceiling was still messed up. The bathroom was still messed up. The grass wasn't cut. You know, when I met her, like about the third time I came over, there was a guy cutting the grass. I was like, why? How much do you pay this guy to cut your grass? Why is he cutting your grass? And then I was like, you got sons. And she said, well, they don't know how to cut grass. I'm like, well, you got 2 baby daddies. They ain't teach the boys how to cut grass? I was like, all right, tell that dude don't come back next time. Just, like, I'll tell your sons to cut the grass. And then she was like, they ain't gonna listen to you. I was like, man, I got it. I got it. We're gonna cut that grass. We all gonna be out there. I said, look, 2 weeks, make the date. 2 weeks, get some meat for the grill. You on the grill, we in the yard. You are not giving that guy $110 to cut your grass. That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. You got teenage boys. That's ridiculous. Word. Now, trying to be better than their father, but I brought value to her and to her kids. And it wasn't out of competition. It's just like, I just don't, me valuing money like I did. I didn't want her money, but I wasn't going to watch her give somebody $110. And she got 2 dudes in her house. One of them was like 3 inches shorter than me, and the other one was about 4 inches taller than me. And I was like, yo, you got a 21-year-old son, man. What you mean he don't know how to cut grass? Nah, hold on. Hey, man, hey, 2 weeks. We're going to be out back. No plans on this Saturday. You cool? Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Invite your friends over. They can cut too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Ricardo, you mommy and my brother. I like that.
Yeah, thank you. You ain't gotta have money. I be mad when I don't got money too. You know it. Mm-hmm. It's because that's all I have to focus on. But if your focus is elsewhere and you providing value elsewhere, then you ain't, you know, it ain't all about that money. That's just what that's the message, you know. But that money, chasing that money thing, fail us every time. Right. It failed us every time. I was like the saddest person in the world. I had almost $200,000 sitting in the bank. I was sad. And I didn't even want to wake up. I was like, why do I keep waking? I was waking up like, what? I woke up again. So that stuff is, man, you know, we just looking at it. We putting that pressure on people. I ain't about to have no pretty woman smiling in my face and be mad because I ain't got, man, I don't care if I ain't got 2 pennies. She's still smiling at me, I'm good. If she's smiling, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Care about his money. When Jada made that funny face, he ain't care nothing about his money. She don't look happy. This is my time. Maybe I can win her over. Will give all his $400-something million up.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can't get it though. He can't buy it, but he would though.
Yeah.
He pretty much did. He pretty much demonstrated that night.
Yeah. He sacrificed a lot, man. You know, I hope it was all worth it, man. Cause, but
my wife's
name out your mouth. My, what are your thoughts
I'm sorry, y'all.
What are your thoughts on what the sister said?
I don't completely disagree, but I think that it just shows where our values are. We're placing our values in our men as purely economic, what they have, and so that's what we equate our men. And so, and I mean, as long as we live in a capitalistic society, that's going to be how men deem to value themselves. And then when you have a woman with you who puts your value, that is a $ sign along with that value, then yes, you're going to be unhappy because you are unhappy because you live in this capitalistic society and that's your value. Your value is, I need to make a certain amount of money. And then you're with someone who sees you in that same light as well. Like, you need to make a certain amount of money for me to deem you worthy of being a man, you know? So a lot of times men are only men if they make a certain amount of money. We have women who make, you know, who do make a certain amount of money. They may make 6 figures, but if you take that away, they're not deemed as not being women anymore.
Right.
So, you know, it's, will they be unhappy? Most likely, yes, because of the society we live in.
Right.
But if you go around the world and you look at men in other parts, maybe if they can't take care, I think it boils down if a man can't take care of his family, because taking care of your family is deemed differently in other parts of the world. That might just mean that you have to go kill an animal and bring it back to your family. So if you can't do that, then you might feel a certain way about yourself in another society. So I agree with it for the most part. I just don't think that that's how it should be. But me not thinking that's how it should be doesn't mean that it's not true.
Right. Stan.
Well, I guess that leaves me.
That's right.
You know, the way Queenie said it, she mentioned her delivery, and that could very well be what's going to guide my comments right now. When I think this is the lady that they were talking about on the Frank Ski show. So, you know, I heard a lot of callers talking about it, women and men, you know, but I did not hear the original message until just now. And what I heard just then, and like I said, it could be because of delivery, but what I heard just then was a woman who was primarily focused on her happiness. If you go get you a man that don't check these boxes, he ain't gonna be happy, so you ain't gonna be happy. So you better go get you a man that check these boxes so you can be happy. And to me, I have a big problem with that. You know what I'm saying? Because here we go again, we back to being self-serving. You know what I'm saying? We back to, what can this man do for me in this particular case? What can this man do for me? Now, like everyone on this panel has said, you know, men have, you know, a certain responsibility to, you know, provide, protect, and things of that nature. But we need to be more focused on being partners, and not you make sure you take care of what you got to take care of so you can take care of me. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it on both ends of the spectrum. You know what I'm saying? I too had a dad who, you know, when the money went right, when nobody right around the house, you know, Get Rich or Die Trying, when 50 came out with that album, in my mind, that was my dad, because that's what he did. You know what I'm saying? He died trying to get rich. You know what I mean? So, and I seen all the emotions as a child, you know what I'm saying? And from him. And then, you know, you fast forward and go through life, and you have these friends and family, you know, who are chasing that money. And when I look at some of my friends who are very well off, or, you know, or just do very well for themselves, I should say, and I compare them to some of my friends who may not do as well, those who don't do as well financially, they're in a much more peaceful space in their lives as those who are getting it, you know? And, you know, I got one friend in particular, you know, and if anybody that's, you know, linked to me is watching this, they'll know who I'm talking about. Out of everybody, he probably has the least, you know? But what he does have is inner peace. He has inner peace, which allows him to be better for the woman in his life. She's not pushing him to compete with others, you know? She's not telling him, you should do what Jones do, or you should do what this guy do, or that guy do, or why didn't you do that? Or, you know, she's not doing it. But you know, he's a partner in their scenario. You know what I'm saying? And him as a person, you'll never know if he have a bad day. You'll never know. You know what I'm saying? And therefore, their relationship is from all accounts and from what I can see from the outside looking in, is thriving. Whereas some of us who are making it, it might not be the case. So, you know, it might not be the case. So I think that woman, she's sending the wrong message. If what I believe her intent to be is true, she's sending the wrong message out to these women, especially the younger women. Like, once again, what Queenie mentioned earlier, if a 20-something hears what she's saying, she's setting them up for failure. You know what I'm saying? Because at 20 years old, all these boxes are not going to be checked. And I'm sure she probably wouldn't even talk to those. She probably would talk to the ones that are her age. Right. But even with that being said, she can be leading somebody her own age down the wrong path of unhappiness. And I've seen that personally quite a bit, just because of that money. You know what I'm saying? Women who, if they don't find that man who's on that level, financially, educationally, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I feel like they could be missing out on a good dude. You know, I've seen women that are up there and, you know, they date, I guess, according to some, they would probably say date down. They're happy. It's not all about money. It should not be all about money. That's what I take from what the message that lady said in that video. It should not be all about money.
So when I saw the video, right, I thought how she presented it was a little bit different from the women who said, "Oh, hey, girl, you need a man with 6 figures." I didn't get that. What I got from it is that she's talking about a man on his purpose, right? That's what I took from it. And if a man is not on his purpose, unfortunately, we wrap everything around money. But that's what I took from it. Like, if a man is not on his,
that's what she said, though.
That's what she said. That's how she kicked it.
She said money.
Right.
Money, ego,
focus solely on money.
Right.
Yes.
But
there's no, she said, if he don't have his money. And I bust that down so quick, I would love to be sitting in her face, because I would ask her what dollar amount is happy.
Some of them will probably tell you 6 figures.
No,
because that seems to be that seems to be the thing.
I promise you got more 6-figure people committing suicide than you dirt broke people.
And you know what? That's a Black culture thing.
Yeah.
So let's really look at where that's coming from. That's in Black culture, and it's running rampant, and it's misleading our people.
Which one of us in Black culture is perpetuating that? Be honest.
I'm not gonna blame a sex. I'm gonna say it is a Black culture thing. It is in our music. It is in our videos. It is in the conversations. It is in these YouTube videos.
Everywhere.
It doesn't matter who it is. It is a Black culture thing, and that's a problem.
Guys, men, you know, and she mentioned music. How many rappers are talking about, girl, leave your man? Your man ain't getting to the bag, you know, fuck him, you know, all this kind of stuff, because he ain't got the chains and he ain't got the bag and he ain't got the whips. You know what I'm saying? It ain't one-sided.
It definitely ain't.
Everybody's perpetuating this stuff.
It definitely ain't. Also, you know, somebody told me, ain't no end to up. And I didn't understand it at first, right? But if you fall down, you're gonna eventually stop, and you can stand up and you can walk on down. Eventually, there's an end to down, right? Ain't no end to up. So when you get, you know, hey, I talk about this. Remember when we was back in the days and we was like, man, if I could just make $20,000, I could live the rest of my life.
Yep.
Right?
I remember them days.
But it wasn't long after that, we were all making over $20,000.
Yeah.
And I was gunning. I was like, man, if I could just make $40,000, I'd be happy for the rest of my life. And then if I could make $80,000, and then I was making $80,000, my woman was making $80,000. We was living in a small house. Our mortgage was about $1,400 a month, and we still were not satisfied. And that was 20-something years ago, right? And then I was like, if I could just bust 100, and then I made 100, and then I was like, if I could just bust 150, and then I just damn near killed myself trying to bust 190, and I wasn't happy. There's no dollar amount. There's no end to up. Millionaires want to be billionaires. Billionaires want to be trillionaires. It does not end, and there's no automatic happiness. There's no dollar to happiness. You got to be happy. And that's what you need to find.
Right.
Get you a figure dude, fine. That don't mean you're going to be happy.
Right.
You might enjoy the trip that he can send you on and all that stuff. But if he miserable, you're going to be miserable. Or if you miserable, you're going to return right back to miserable, because all of those things that you ain't used to, as soon as you get used to them, you're going to be right back miserable. Because I promise you this, wherever you are in life, if somebody knock you back a peg, you'll be thinking, man, if I could just get back, I'd be happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it ain't no dollar amount to happy. You just ain't happy.
Right. Right.
You just ain't happy. Find you a happy person.
Well,
And it'll be all right. If you find me a happy person, hey, look, I live in a cardboard box with a happy person. We'll find a way to stay warm in the wintertime, a happy person. And we talked earlier, you talked about like relationships are hard. They're not hard. Today, I went out for a friend. I did her a favor. I did some work for her. It took me 2 hours. I charged her $200 for about probably $600-700 worth of work. She just didn't expect me to be as efficient, as I was, right? So I came over there, I knocked it out. I probably wouldn't have come. But what she did was she said, hey, I called the guy about this one thing, and that one thing was $150. Immediately that set me free, because I told her, I said, that's why I don't like to do stuff for people. Because when I tell them it's going to be $300, they don't believe me that it would have been $1,500. So now I know she knew. So I came over there and I knocked everything out and a couple of other things. She gave me the $200, she was satisfied. But had she not had that experience, that $200, she may have been feeling like, well, maybe not her because she's a fair person, but a lot of people feel like you didn't look out for them. You didn't treat them as a friend. I just think. But the reason I brought that up was because I was able to do it easily because I had a clear conscience, and I knew that I was going to get the little $200, which I wasted right away. I went in Ross and Marshalls and bought a whole bunch of dumb stuff. Like the money didn't even make it home with me. At the gas station, and it was gone, right? But I still felt good because I looked out for her and I knew that her stuff was done right. If she was my woman, though, I have to admit that she probably would have asked me several times to do what I did, and I probably would have pieced it out. So that is a say that, I have to work on me. But it also to say that it's the way that she presented the situation to me that I had a clear conscience and I was eager to go and deal with the situation. So like you could present something to somebody in such a way that they may be eager to tackle it. Or they may look at it like, okay, I felt like I got to help a friend out today. As opposed to, I feel like I have to help a friend out today. And it was a pleasure, right? And so it's different. And so I think that when things are hard, it's because you don't want to do it. I know I just said a whole lot, But that's what I'm getting at. I think that when things are hard, it's because you really don't want to do it.
No, well, I got to push back on that. I mean, because, you know, relationships, like I said, anything worth having is hard work. If you have a business, it's hard. Having a business is not easy, or running a business is not easy. If that were the case, everybody would have a business and everybody would run a business, right? There's a certain amount of equity that you have to put in relationships, just like there's a certain amount of equity you have to put in running a business or anything worth having. And I think too often people think that things are going to be easy, and when they realize that it's not going to be easy, rather than persevere through it, they just throw their hands up and walk away, right? I mean, what was the stat on business? I think a business fails what most businesses fail within their first 2 years of being in operation. And a lot of times,
perception though.
Huh?
Hard is still, no matter how you slice it, hard is about perception. How long we been on this call today? How long we been on this thing, right?
About an hour, 40 minutes.
I think that everybody right now can smile. Is everybody still comfortable?
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody is still reasonably comfortable.
I'm good.
Right. I think everybody is reasonably comfortable, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you take this conversation we having right now and say that someone said, hey, you have to have it. You're stuck with it. If you don't do it, it's going to be consequences and repercussions. We would have been having problems 10 minutes into this talk. It would have been 10 minutes too long, 10 minutes into it. We all having a good time. It's about perception. Yeah, businesses fail. Yes, businesses are hard because you go into it thinking, oh, if I could just do this, everything will be all right. Like if we could just make $10, if I could just, you know what, I'm sick of working for people. If I could just get my own company, things would be sweet. No, it's not going to be sweet because you are not satisfied. That's why you're not happy at work. You're not going to be happy in business. You know, people say, I don't want to work for nobody. Well, then you definitely don't want a business because when you get your business, you work for everybody.
Right.
You don't want no business if you don't want to work for nobody. You get your business, you get your own business, you work for everybody. So it's me that wasn't happy at work. And it's me that's not happy at business. And it ain't because I don't have a business. It's me that's not happy in a relationship. And maybe a reason I'm not happy. Maybe my woman ain't what I thought she was going to be. Or maybe it ain't what I thought it was going to be. It ain't that I don't want to work. I don't want to work for her. It ain't that she don't want to work. She don't want to work for me. Right. That's why we ain't happy. Right. So you got to make a decision to be happy within yourself, and decide whether or not you are with someone that you want to work for, because the next person ain't gonna make you happy either. If you coming in and you don't want to work, but the work ain't got to be hard. Just like the work was easy today. And some days when I go to work is easy. Other days it's difficult because I don't want to be there. The work is more difficult. It's just that I don't want to be there.
Right.
So you got to be honest with yourself. The work ain't hard in a relationship. You being a father isn't hard. It's your mentality. It's how you thinking about it.
Well, I don't know if I'm gonna say
I'm saying I felt those feelings though.
Man,
It's been tough.
Hey, yeah.
Huh?
Hey,
it's been hard being a mom.
Yeah, raising kids is tough.
I felt those feelings too.
Right.
I felt those feelings, but you love it though.
Raising kids is tough.
It's the best thing ever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's hard.
We ain't for the
but the truth is,
no kind of way. It ain't.
No matter how you look at, no matter how you think of it, it just all boils down to how you think of what you're doing. Yeah. It's just because somebody can have to do all of the things you have to do, and then you can say, "Hey man, what's going on with you, Mike?" And he's like, "Hey man, everything's great. Man, I'm having the greatest time of my life. This is amazing." And you go, "Man, that dude is crazy." It's tough being a parent.
Hey, so
Doing nothing different from you. He just looking at it different.
what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go to another video. we're gonna talk about the video, and then after that, we'll give our closing remarks. And I decided to use the video of this individual because it's Queenie's favorite YouTuber.
Come on.
And so
I don't even have my name here.
you know, yeah, I don't know. No, her name disappeared, man.
I'm already look. I'm telling you guys, I'm already feeling some kind of way. He did not prepare me for this, but as soon as he said it's your favorite, my ears caught on fire.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do my best to hold it together because I already know.
Your earrings look marvelous, though.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Underneath
it.
the fiery backdrop.
I'm about to come undone.
So
I'm sure.
Hold on. Let me see if I can.
We'll pick you back up.
Let me see if I can.
Jesus.
I can set this up.
But she gonna send you some of that good spiritual energies, and you'll be fine.
So
Restorative.
you're familiar with Kevin Samuels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me mute myself because
Yeah. So I'm gonna play this clip from Kevin Samuels. I don't want to give too much away, and then we'll discuss it.
Jones, do you have your shot ready?
I'm with you.
All right, here we go.
You've seen him grow from how you've known.
Hold on 1 second. Sorry.
Hello, how are you?
I am well. How old are you?
40.
Okay, what did I get wrong? What did I get
Hey,
wrong?
it's a little low, man. Is it just
You didn't get
me?
anything wrong. You didn't get nothing wrong.
No, it's a little
My
low.
question is, I think I'm not your average
How about now?
listener. A lot of times, things you talk about,
I mean, I
don't
hear.
say apply to me. And my question is, this is like, okay, I'm 40. I have 3 kids. I've done a stay-at-home mom thing.
Is it still low?
I've been divorced
It
for
is low.
12 years.
Yes.
So, and I don't need a high value man. I'm at the point now where I want companionship. I do want a Christian man. I am a Christian woman. I do know that.
What's
no
the
marriage is
question?
gonna-
What's the question?
My question is like, how should I put this? Just
It's getting ready to go
I
bad.
speak of, you have a.
Just give me your question. Just give me your question. Just give me your question.
So what do you do? Okay, so what if you're a woman who is old like I'm 40. I don't want to have any more kids. I'm done having children. I don't need to have a high value man. I just want a good man. I want companionship.
Okay.
I want a man that is a Christian. And with that being said, how is that hard for me to find? I know I'm in that danger zone or
All
whatever.
right. So, man, all right. Let me stop you right here. I've asked you like 5 times. Basically, what you're saying is, how does a woman at my age find just a man for companionship for the rest of my life?
Yeah, it's a good person. Yeah,
All right.
a good Christian. They
Well,
don't have
first
to be
thing,
all
well,
those
the first thing, you gotta be willing to say it.
kids are really young. And I was just focused on raising them. I was struggling trying to just be a single mom with 3 kids, manage my
What just
home
happened?
and my job, and just before I
Well,
looked up,
but see, okay,
they're
so here's the
older,
question.
and like-
Here's the question that's gonna come up.
Can't hear.
Here's the question that's gonna come up. Why did you and your husband split? That's the question that's gonna.
Y'all can't hear it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it seemed like it skipped something or something.
No. It's edited because it's a long video.
Oh,
That was an edit.
okay.
Yeah. So okay, let me go ahead.
Come up.
you know what? I was young and immature.
That didn't answer my question. Why'd you? So you filed for divorce from your husband?
I did.
Why? Here's a question that's gonna come up, ma'am.
Oh yes, I mean as I say all the time, young and immature. If I looking back, if I pinpoint exactly why, it was just stupid. And looking back,
Stupid meaning what? Stupid meaning what?
It was young. I was young and immature.
Give me a
and I
reason.
just thought
Did
I
you
was-
think you could do better?
No.
Did you
know
think
what?
you
I just
didn't
thought
need
that
him?
I'll be- No, I just thought that okay, I can find somebody else later, and I realized I wasn't.
So you
stupid
thought you could
as
do
it is.
better. So you got married to a man at age 20 what?
27.
You got married at 27.
Yeah.
All right, and you got divorced at what age?
Like 31.
Not 31. So you married 4 years. When you were married, did you have to work?
I didn't work at the
Did you have to work when you were married?
No.
No. All 3 of your children were by your husband, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So you were married to a man that you didn't have to work and you had all 3 of your kids, and yet you thought you could divorce him and find better. Great. Before you met him at 27, between 18 and 27, what happened here?
I was with him as my high school sweetheart. Is that a whoop?
She has years.
So you were with a man that you've known and you've seen him grow from high school to 27. He married you. Put you in a position that you did not have to work. You had 3 children, yet you decided to divorce him and go elsewhere. And then you want to talk about how you struggled to be something. See, that's where all that comes in place. Nobody's going to give you credit for struggling. You chose it.
Agreed. Like I said, I was young.
No, man. And see, this is the part. Here's why this is relevant. I need a lot of ladies like yourself. Some of you don't deserve a second chance.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry to tell you this. That's where a lot of men think. A lot of men will hear that and say, "Wait a minute. You found a good man. He married you. He sat you down. You had 3 children, and you divorced him for no good reason. And you think you deserve to go back?"
No.
Listen, I'm telling you how men are going to hear this. Or do you not want to hear it? This is how men are going to hear this. I married my high school sweetheart almost 10 years after college, after high school. I did not have to work. He took care of everything. All I had to do was be the wife and have babies. And he took care of it. But that still wasn't good enough. I divorced him. Then I had to go out and struggle on my own. Now I look back and say I was young and dumb. Most men are going to say, you don't deserve a second chance. I'm not saying that. I'm just telling you that's what a lot of men are going to hear. Because you had the best, you had more than 75% of black women can ever get, a husband. And you had a husband paying all the bills. And you threw it all away.
Okay. So I know that hold on, let me show you. Hold on, turn my mic up. I know that he's your, I know he's your favorite YouTuber, but what do you think about because this goes into what we talked about earlier. Now I know
lost your backdrop clean.
I say,
I
okay, I'll wait till she gets back on camera because I'll ask her. But this goes.
You just rip it all the way down and give it to me because I kind of like it. And I'm just like, where do you find something like that?
You need a background, Ricardo.
I like that one though. You know,
I'm saying you need a background.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
all of us don't have green thumbs and stuff, ma'am.
Those are my daddy's plants. They were little whenever he passed away. I went and got them.
Oh.
Grown up 2 years, they're all the way into the windowsill, all the way up top.
Whose plants were they again?
That was my daddy's.
Ooh, some of us don't ever get to say that.
Oh my goodness.
I had a father.
No, that was my guy. He passed away 2 years ago. So.
God, daddy's girl.
Condolences and continued salutes.
And you know, I plan on I want us to do a show on daddy's girls. And women who have strong relationships with their fathers. I don't think enough has been done on that, and I'm looking.
They the best.
I'm looking forward to that.
The most beautiful relationship ever.
It is. They're
the best. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah. So, you and I have been on. We've been on panels where folks have argued back and forth, and they disagreed when I threw out the the stats about how 70% of divorces are initiated by women. I don't know. Do you recall that, or do you remember that? Any of those conversations?
Vaguely. Yeah,
Okay.
vaguely.
Okay. And so what this clip is an example of how a woman can be with her high school sweetheart. They can have 3 kids together. They can be married, and she just gets divorced because of how she feels at that moment, and she feels like she can do better. Now, and this goes to Queenie's point about people romanticizing divorce, because I don't know her, but I think it'd be safe to make an assumption that her friends told her that she could do better and she should just go ahead and get divorced. Is that a safe assumption, Queenie? I can't hear you.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was assuming you was talking to my aunt. I was here to listen.
No. I was talking to you at that point.
Yeah. The glorification and the romanticizing of divorce. I would believe that somewhere someone fostered an ideal in her head that she could do better, but we also don't know what happened. So there's that part, right? But I definitely believe that.
Well, we do know that she said. We do know that she said that she was young and immature. We know that much.
And she said it was stupid.
And she said it was stupid. So we know that it wasn't his fault. We know that she now realizes that she messed up.
She's looking back with some level of regret.
Right.
Yeah, I've been there. I've done that myself. So I totally empathize with what she's saying. I remember when I was young and dumb, and my first boyfriend would ride his bicycle from Fort Bragg to Shaw Road in Fayetteville to our trailer home to see me. And my friends would joke him about not having a car, and I would give him a hard time. And he was my first love, and he sacrificed it all for me. But I did not have an environment that said, this is love, stick it out. It did not. It said, girl, whatever, you don't need that. You can be with this drug dealer.
Right.
And so I left that relationship ignorantly. And I've always spoke about that, so I totally empathize with what she's saying. I mean, I didn't have kids with him, but I do get that. I do get we can be, foolishly influenced in our youth. And I go back to the beginning. Do we really know how to marry? Do we really know how to couple? Like, how do we know that? We're building the plane while we fly it.
Right.
But that dude was willing to do the most, though. He's coming on his bike.
Yeah.
Hey.
How vicious he would have been once he got a car.
Hey,
he did get a car. He got a car that was all about me, and I still ruined it.
That's what love would do. That's what love would do.
Yeah.
I want to.
Yeah.
Before we, let me let me do.
I don't think you need a friend to tell you that.
Hold on, Rick. Let me do a quick sidebar before we discuss the video, and I want to talk about this idea or the premise that divorce is contagious, right? It's a contagion, right? It's like almost like Ebola, where if you have somebody who's divorced and they comes talking that divorce stuff, next thing you know, your marriage is dead, right? So divorce as a behavioral or social contagion, right? Is like a lifestyle virus. And what that is you have somebody who's infected by it, and they then go into a circle of friends and infect others by making it seem palatable, right? By making it seem acceptable. And before you know it, these people will go into their relationships and it impacts their relationships, whether it's promiscuity or whether it's divorce. I want to give you some numbers real quick on divorce. All right. If a close friend gets divorced, you are 147 times more likely to become divorced. And if a friend of a friend gets divorced, you're 33% more likely to get divorced. When a married person works with someone who's in the process of getting divorced, it increases the married person's chance of getting divorced by 75%. Now, given the fact that women initiate divorce at 70 or 80%, right? These are the studies. This is not me making it up. These are the studies. And given those numbers that I just mentioned, I think it's safe to draw the conclusion that because women lean on each other for support, and they more so accept advice. Like, say for example, if I got a divorce and I went to Stan and was trying to convince him that is the best thing, chances are he's not listening to me, right? But for some reason, women tend to heed the advice of other women who either have not been in a successful relationship themselves. I mean, because you have married women taking advice from women who've never been in a relationship, like aunties that they ain't had a man for 25 years, 30 years, and they trying to give them game. Like, auntie, how you gonna give me game when you ain't had a man yourself? Do you follow what I'm saying? Ma'at,
Mm-hmm.
Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, I do hear that. I tell people all the time, it's when you're married and not sharing your relationship, especially with people, almost anyone who's not licensed to deal with that relationship, because a lot of us want, for lack of a better term, echo chambers. So we're dealing with something in our relationship and we want to feel validated that we reacted in a certain way, like we reacted correctly. So we're getting around people who are going to pat us on the back and say, oh yeah, that's how I would have done the same thing. Or, you shouldn't have to deal with that. You shouldn't deal with things like that. So it's a lot of things that we deal with within our culture, for one. This whole idea now, like divorce parties, like that's a little strange to me, but people are having divorce parties. And so you're getting that and getting the idea of the celebration of, you celebrate the union, but then now you're celebrating the demise. Mm-hmm. You're celebrating that the union is no longer together. And so what that imprints into our society, our culture, and if there was children from the union, what that is also telling the children. I know that Queenie also, she brought up a good point at the beginning of the show, saying that we don't think about the impact that it has on the kids, on children. And I think anybody, oh goodness, y'all, it's just not happening today. I think anybody would say that when it comes to anybody who's come from divorce, whether they were young, whether they were older, they do know that they're affected in some kind of way, like the children are affected in some kind of way, whether that the parents should have stayed married or not. I know plenty of couples that may have done more damage by staying together. But when it comes to the relationship, as far as the people around you, it's very important to me that if there are issues happening, that you actually get professional help and not getting the help from people who have not been there or do not understand what is going on in the relationship, because every relationship is different too. What I go through in my relationship is going to be vastly different than what my friend goes through. And one thing that she said in the clip that really irritates me is how we always put things on age. She was 31 years old. I'm sorry, that's not young enough for me to say that, oh, well, I was young and stupid. Mm-hmm. Like we don't know exactly everything that happened in the relationship. She might have felt like she wasn't being paid attention to, or whatever it may be. As a woman who has been in different roles in my marriage. There are times when the man is working a lot and you might not feel like he's paying attention to you as much as you want to. So if you go to the wrong people and they say, well, this is what you need to do, that ends up becoming a problem in your marriage, even though this man might be out there working 16-hour days.
Right.
So, it's one of those things where I get irritated when I hear people put things on age, because she couldn't give a real answer,
Right.
So we don't know.
Well,
Like-
she was tap dancing pretty hard.
Right, like we
Yeah.
don't know. But she was what happened, we don't know if he cheated. We don't know anything. We just know that she's saying that she was dumb for leaving.
Right.
And maybe that's just a reflection because now she's having trouble finding someone.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, she did say, I thought that I could find somebody else.
Well, she danced around that. I mean, he kind of cornered her into telling the truth.
She said it, though.
Right.
Eventually, she said it, though.
Right. So,
Bottom line is just like he said, she thought she could do better. She thought it was. Hey.
right. So, Rick,
Yeah, I'm sure.
Rick, go ahead and give me your take.
Well, on what she said, I see that. I think it's common. I think that we all have done that to some degree, right? But when you do it to the degree in which she did it, so much time from teenagers to almost 30 to get married, to have 3 children with someone, and then get a divorce, and think that you are just going to go out here and find somebody better. You're really not thinking about who you are now. You got to be thinking about who you were at the onset of that marriage, because now you're a person who's been married, been divorced, who has 3 children, has an ex-husband. That's always going to be a part of you. All of those things, right? Mm-hmm. So now you got to find somebody who's going to accept all of that.
Right.
And so, and then they got to accept the fact that you haven't shown yourself, like, this person has to trust you.
Right.
If the person tells me that, then I have to wonder, how safe is it for me to invest my heart, my feelings with that person?
Right.
They're not looking like a safe bet. They're gonna have to do a lot of work to make me feel, reassured that it's safe to invest with them. Because now I just know it's so many reasons why what we do could fail. So even more than the reasons that why her and her previous spouse failed. Now, man, a guy's gonna be the outside.
Right.
I remember having a relationship with a woman, and I realized I felt like an outsider in my own house. I moved this woman and her children into my house, and I felt like an outsider in my own house. That's how a person in a relationship with them is going to be fighting those feelings, because there's going to be so many things that predate him that are going to be more important than him. Her 3 children are going to be more important than him.
Right.
He's going to always be compared to her 15, 16, 17-year relationship. He's going to always be compared to that.
Right.
I don't know who, she's going to have a hard time. She's going to have a hard time finding somebody to trust her, I feel like.
Yeah, and he mentioned that. He mentioned that because, when back in the day before I was married, I had a problem. Like when you listen to, I don't know. I think as men I don't think we are as attentive and perceptive to certain things. Like Queenie mentioned, you'll hear a woman will say that she went through 3 relationships in the past 18 months. And it'll be like every relationship, it was the guy's fault. Like for me, that's like a red flag, And before a lot of guys, man, they just ignore it because they feel like, well, that wouldn't be me. And those dudes, they don't know what they're doing. But let a woman talk to a guy and he had 3 different jobs in the past 18 months. And she said, well, what happened with the first job? Oh man, people, they were racist and so I had to get up out of there. Second job, same thing. Third job, same thing. You're like, this dude don't like to work. This dude has a problem. Or if he had 3 girlfriends in 18 months, but it's always the women's fault. Most women would be like, nah, there's something wrong with him. But we don't, as guys, we always feel like we're the difference maker, right? We don't pay attention to certain things. That's my thing. Queenie, I don't know. Did you address this thing, or did I start with my aunt on the video?
That's my own thoughts about being able to relate to her decision to divorce without really knowing how to marry, first of all, right? How to remain married. So I addressed that. I don't really have much more to add to that particular scenario. Delivery is everything for me. So, but I think that she's in a peculiar place, and I think that she knows it, and it's tough. Probably shouldn't have called into Kevin Samuel. She probably should just work out her own situation, and just raise those kids, and eventually her person will hopefully find her. I don't want, though, to walk away from this conversation when we're talking about divorce and women divorcing at higher rates, right? I don't want us to walk away from this and make it seem like that some of these divorces aren't justified. I don't want to do that. There are some really bad men in these relationships. They shouldn't be in relationships. Same thing with women, but we're just talking about why women are divorcing. That may not be her situation, but if your deal breaker is infidelity and you have a hoe at home for a husband, then I believe that divorcing him may be the piece that you need to find. So I don't want to make it seem like, women are just divorcing men just because women just want to be, they want to operate in their masculine energy. No, there are women that are actually divorcing men that rightfully should not be coupled anyway. Abusive men that have not worked through their mental illnesses, men that have not worked out their own childhood traumas. And these women are tired of being oppressed by these situations. So I don't want to make it seem like, women just divorcing men and they think they can do better. No, oftentimes a lot of women are just being mistreated, and they realize that they have the opportunity to do better, meaning they have their peace by themselves. And as lonely as it may be, I choose peace over problems any day. And so I don't want to make it seem like people are just divorcing for no reason. People are divorcing for some valid reasons, maybe not all, but oftentimes we are. And sometimes, if we're being honest, again, I'm not trying to put men against women or vice versa, but sometimes men that are indulgent in outside affairs don't believe that a woman should divorce them because they may not know that they're having all these extramarital affairs. And so when women find out and they're fed up, they just decide to walk away. So I want to make sure that we're not acting like some of these divorces, even though they are at a high rate, are not warranted, because some of them are.
Yes, some of them are. I agree with you on that, but I will push back. I'll push back because when it comes to when it comes to cheating, women cheat nearly as much as men, and most of the time.
Wait.
Yeah.
Who
yes.
said that? Who said that?
I don't have the stats. I've looked at a number of stats. Men cheat at about like 7 to 10% more. So when men are out there cheating, they're not cheating with other men. They're cheating with women, and oftentimes they're cheating with women who are in relationships or going through one of their many relationships, because oftentimes men also deal with more than one man at a time, right? And so when you
justifying this,
no, it's not about justifying. I'm just pushing back on the narrative that you had. So there's a difference, because I wasn't going to say anything, but the narrative that you just put out there, I definitely have to push back on it. When you talk about men are dealing with some of their issues Well, the same can be said for women, because you have a lot of women who, whether they were abused as kids, right, or whether they saw abuse of their mother, right, it affects their attachment styles. You're familiar with the attachment style theory, right? So the attachment theory, for anyone who's watching who's not familiar, is a theory that says your upbringing, any trauma in your life impacts how you form attachments, whether it's to your parents or in relationships later on. And oftentimes you have, say, for example, let me just use Will and Jada Pinkett, right? Because to me, I can clearly see that Will has an anxious attachment style and Jada has an avoidant attachment style, right? And those two attachment styles are the most common relationships in America, which might explain for why you have such a high failure rate, right? Because someone who has an anxious attachment style tends to be jealous, tends to be a little bit insecure, and wants to go through your phone. And that's Will. And so how do you get people who have an anxious attachment style? Normally you have someone who has been forced to take on responsibility at an early age. Oftentimes you have older daughters who maybe you don't have two parents and they have responsibilities and they become like young mothers. Oftentimes those older daughters will develop an anxious attachment style, right? So they'll be jealous, have a fear of being left. And that to me is what Will Smith has. He has an anxious attachment style. And Jada Pinkett has an avoidant attachment style. And people who develop an avoidant attachment style are people who are fiercely independent, right? And Jada Pinkett sold drugs when she was younger. Her mother was on drugs. She grew up on the streets of Baltimore. And so Jada Pinkett is a person who never wanted to be married by her own admission. She was content with being a baby's mom. She did not want to be married to Will Smith. She felt like she was pressured into marriage because her mother came to her crying. And that might be the reason why Jada Pinkett has a lot of, or at least displays evidence of resentment towards Will Smith, right? So you look at her behavior and how she always makes Will Smith feel like he's not good enough, right? There's always something better around the corner, like Tupac, idolizing a dead man, or even making August Alsina as the proxy for Tupac, right? And so Will constantly has to compete with it. And the more someone with an anxious attachment style tries to get closer, the more the person with the avoidant attachment style pushes away. So there's like this push-pull relationship between someone who has an anxious attachment style and someone who has an avoidant attachment styles. And so I'm saying that a lot of us are messed up, and a lot of us bring those that baggage into our relationship. It's not something that I'm not going to allow. I'm not going to let you just say that it's men. Because oftentimes women bring their baggage into relationships as well.
I agree. And please forgive me if it come off like I'm saying it's just men. I'm not. I'm just saying when we're talking about why women are divorcing. Right. Women aren't divorcing because women just want to divorce. Oftentimes they're divorcing in response to. So there's always exceptions. So I'm definitely not saying that. But I would say that I don't see Will. I get what you're saying, but I see more Will as a codependent. We can have this conversation offline, but I see Will as more of a codependent versus.
Yeah. But anxious people with anxious attachment styles are codependent.
Yeah, I get it. I think Will is exactly where he wants to be.
Yeah, Will, he said when he was 15 years old, he had a girl cheat on him.
Yeah.
And he was so crushed. Mm-hmm. He said that in his mind, he determined at that point that he was going to be the most successful guy. He was going to be big in Hollywood, and that would never again happen to him. but it did.
Because someone told him that is what he needed to be in order to have a woman not cheat on him.
Well, no,
Where did he get that message from?
Well, at
15, where did you get that message?
At 15, I doubt that.
Does tell you that.
Huh?
No, where do you get the message?
Society tells
from?
you that.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So someone told him that, and he truly believed. Anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to belabor the point. I'm just saying that this notion, I don't want to walk away that, well, even though, women, initiate divorce at 70 or 80%, that it must have been something that the man did. I have to push back on that, because if the roles were
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I want to make sure that I'm not saying it.
Okay, well,
I get it if that's what you're perceiving.
No,
that's not really what I'm saying.
So what I'm saying is, if the roles were reversed, and divorces were initiated by men 70 or 80% of the time, I don't think many people. I'm saying this because I've heard this argument before from women, and I don't think that women would say, that, well,
it must be
something that the women did, because they don't, right? So I'll get.
I think we would. It's only the fact, though. I think we would say that. I think if we're fair.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. Now, it doesn't have anything to do with, divorce and marriage, but it just has something to do. You take the same action, right? And how it's perceived by women in both cases is totally different. Ray Rice was a running back for the Baltimore Ravens. Ray Rice got into an altercation with his wife, and, proceeded to get physical with her. And he kind of knocked her out. Now, putting the fact that he's a man and all that aside, right? Women looked at that situation and said, he's wrong. He should never put his hands on a woman. They did not say she must have done something. Flip side of that, you had Solange attacking Jay-Z in the elevator, and Jay-Z was not physical with her. He sat there and he ate it. She was punching him. She was kicking him. And the majority of women I encountered said he must have done something wrong. He had to do something in order for her to have that type of response. See, do you not see the double standard?
Of course I do, but I'm still not saying that, though.
Okay. I'm just
definitely wasn't a fan of Solange attacking Jay-Z. So I do see the double standard. It's just not what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, and I apologize.
That's what society says, though.
Yeah, I don't want to.
It's just us.
Yeah, I don't want to mischaracterize your position. So I'm just saying that right now. I don't want to mischaracterize your position. It's just that I've heard that enough, and it just seems like there's justification for it. Now, there are other reasons for that, and it's largely communication. Largely communication is the reason for these divorces. Communication is what leads to infidelity or lack of communication. How we talk to one another, a man feeling like he's not being respected by a woman not feeling like she's being respected by a man, and then all of a sudden somebody else has better communication that stimulates their mind and so forth. These type of things lead to infidelity. Finances. It's not so much the finances as it is how we talk about finances that cause these arguments. Like a lot of our conflicts, it stems from how we talk to each other. With a lack of respect, we have a tendency. Well, there's like 4 things, right? Invalidation, right? Escalation, invalidation, negative interpretation, and there's one more. So with escalation, I'm talking to you and you're talking to me, but you feel like I'm not listening. So then you raise your voice. And then when you raise your voice, I raise my voice. And before you know it, something that's small becomes big because of escalation. That is a problem with communication. Invalidation. You tell me something and I show you that I care. And then when I start telling you my feelings, you poo-poo my feelings, maybe because I'm a man and you're dismissing it as if it's not, it's of little to no significance. That's also a problem. I can't think of the third one, but the fourth one is negative interpretation, where I'm trying to tell you something. Like, I'll tell you, well, you know, can't you wear another dress? Oh, what you trying to say? I'm fat? And then and then you get into an argument because you're interpreting negatively what I'm saying. So it, as much as everybody likes to think it's infidelity, it's really communication. But our communication is really shaped or influenced by our attachment styles. Like, a lot of people tend to think that they have a secure attachment styles. I'm listening to you, and my assumption is that you have a secure attachment style, but not everybody does. People who grow up and they're really insecure. Sometimes, you know, you have women or men for that matter who grow up in single family homes. Certain things happen and it impacts their ability to form attachments. And people bring that into relationships. And the problem is we don't know enough about attachment styles. We don't know what our attachment styles are. We don't know what our significant other's attachment style are. And if we knew, then we would know how to better address our issues with communications and how we deal with each other. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. Funny thing is that my attachment style isn't secure. I definitely am very aware of mine. Okay. So I have to always keep myself in check. I think that a lot of us don't, and I mean us meaning whomever's watching, don't always know. And again, you know, this is information that we weren't always privy to. Only reason why I know because I'm a sociology major, right? Mm-hmm. That's my degree, that's my background. Right. In psychology. So naturally, you know, those things I'm privy to, but a lot of people aren't. And so they don't even know to even go out there and research this information. And then there's a lack of therapy within relationships. There's a lack of therapy within just individuals in our singleness. Right. So a lot of us don't know what we don't know. Right. So at the end of the day, I can only hold people accountable for so much. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of it, it's an opportunity for me to maybe spark an interest, right? Or give them a little bit of information. Hopefully they'll go and do the research. These conversations are great. You
beat me to it. I was just getting ready to say that is why I love us having these type of discussions and conversations, because I believe we as men and women need to sit down and talk to each other instead of talking past each other. And there are going to be times that we disagree, and sometimes it's going to get a little bit spirited, but that's okay. Right. Sweet Jones, go ahead and give me your thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up with closing remarks.
Are we talking thoughts on the video, the Kevin Samuel video?
Right. And divorce as a contagion.
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I take Kevin Samuel videos with a grain of salt, man. I really just look at his videos for my own comedy relief. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he be going at women hard as hell, and it be in some ways or a lot of ways unjustified. So I miss a lot of the messages whenever I would even listen to what he's got going on, because I'm busy finding something to laugh at, you know. But as it pertains to, you know, some of the things that, you know, you all have been discussing, I happen to lean towards, I guess, the male point of view when it comes to, when I heard you mention, you know, women will lead each other down these wrong paths, as far as, you know, well, I got divorced, girl. You see, I'm doing okay. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I think I like to go back to that whole, you know, I don't know if I could just say Martin and Gina, but, you know, it's that whole you go girl culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. They you know, they all rally around each other for some of the worst things. You know what I'm saying? Because they just want to be together. They have support. They need that support, whether it's to get married or to get divorced, you know, more so than us men do, you know. And as far as the the thing that y'all just said about the two elevator incidents. I mean, not that this is a who do I think right or who do I think wrong, but I think there's some truth to what AK said, you know, because I too, you know, when I heard, you know, people talk about the incidents, Ray Rice, there was nothing that could have triggered him. There was nothing that she could have done. You know, we have a comment in the chat, Brother Carlos Phillips. You know, he mentioned that it was said that she spat on him multiple times.
She spit on him.
You know, and to some people, you know, probably more women than men, but I don't know the numbers. But that still wasn't acceptable for him to do what he did. And you know, I know people who raise their sons to not let women do those type of things to them. You know, when they're little boys, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't go picking on a woman, you don't go bullying or beating on a woman, but you don't accept certain things from them as well. You know, if they're gonna do certain things that, well, I'm not gonna go there, but what I'm saying is, when you pivot to the Solange and Jay-Z thing, yeah, it was. I don't recall ever hearing anybody say, well, what did she do? I mean, she must have had a reason. You know, that's what I remember, you know, being said for the most part. She must have had a reason for what she was doing, you know. And then it turned out, I guess later, or it was speculated that it was Jay-Z cheating on Beyonce.
Right.
You know, if I remember correct, if I'm wrong, y'all correct me. But if I remember,
it was speculated. It was speculated that was the reason.
Okay, and
it's still not a justification for putting your hands on.
But for a lot of females that I personally I can recall having them conversations with. I don't want to talk about the masses. I'm in my own little circle here. That was enough of a reason. You don't do the queen like that. You don't do queen bee like that. So I guess a summation, man, like, you know, I just go back to something I said earlier, man. We'd just be more focused on being partners with each other. Mm-hmm. We'd be more focused on being partners. It doesn't mean it has to be 50-50, you know, everything. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be some aspects where you allow your woman to take the lead. It's going to be some aspects where the man's going to take the lead. But keep that at the front. You know what I'm saying? And keep money. Don't have money at the top of your list. We all need it. You know what I'm saying? You know, there's no secret to that. You know, we all need money to survive, sustain, and stuff like that. But that can't be at the top of the food chain, because to me, that's going to lead to a destruction. Whether you're rich, whether you're blue collar, whether you're white collar, if money is what's the most important, I don't think it's going to last.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you saying, I should be? I agree. You can't win focusing on the money. Well, I'm going to tell you as a guy, you're losing. If you focusing on the money, if you think that your money is going to secure your marriage, you're going to lose, partially because after a certain amount of time, that woman's entitled to half of your money.
Right.
So that actually is a more, hey, listen, it's actually a better financial decision. If hold on, let me ride it out. Let me ride it out before you snatch my surfboard from under me, right? Just from a number standpoint, to be married to someone, let's say they're a billionaire, right? If you continue to be married with them, then you're married with a billionaire, right? But if you divorce them, and let's say you got a basketball player, he got $500 million, and you a cheerleader, you ain't making nothing. You $30,000, whatever. You ain't making nothing, right? After a certain amount of time, it is a better financial. If it's just purely from the financial, it's a better financial decision for you to divorce because now you don't have a man with some money. You actually get some money.
Dr. Dre and his wife.
Huh? Yeah, you may not
Dr. Dre and his wife. Oh, that's
You made so you made $500 million while you were married to him, but you can't go and spend it. You can't. You coming to him. Now, when you separate from him, you get money that you are in control of. I'm not saying that that's a good reason to leave someone, but I'm just saying some of these situations, I don't like it, but I'm like, it make more sense for her to divorce.
Right. I mean,
she come out winning.
Right, you incentivize divorce.
Think about it too. I might be like, shoot, hold on, I get half of what.
But let me chime in, because the thing is, when the opposite happens to women, like I'm not gonna put this on all women, but I can just say some of my female friends.
Mary J. Blige.
When it happened to Mary J. Blige, they were livid. They were livid. They were like, what's his name? Fondue or Kendu? What's his name? I don't know his name.
Kendall or something like that.
Kendall. Okay. Yeah, they like, Kendall, he ain't no real man. Kendall, like, how you gonna do that? And he really didn't get a lot of money, relatively speaking, right? Relatively speaking to the kind of money that women get when they get divorced. But he did get some bread. He got some bread from her. I think like $200,000 or $300,000
compared to us.
No, I'm saying he got some bread. And my female friends, they were livid. But I'm like, you were just laughing and applauding when Tyrese was going through it, and when these other guys go through it. What is it about? My thing is, I just want there to be some type of fairness where you have the same level of outrage when it happens to a man as when it happens to a woman. That's all. Just fairness. If
ain't no fairness out here, bro.
Well, I'm just saying that if you're consistent, either way, like if you don't believe in what is it? What do you call it? Alimony and all that, but you're consistent, cool. Or if you're for alimony and you like, hey, if it happens to Halle Berry and Mary J. Blige, then okay, that's the game is the game. Then I can respect that. But there just seems to be this thing that, the pain or suffering that men go through, well, suck it up and be a man, Yeah,
you gotta be a real man.
Right. But when it's women, it's like the worst thing in the world. And all I'm saying is I'd like to see some equality, in our empathy. That's all I'm saying. So let me.
You need better female friends, AK.
Some women who supposedly love me.
No shade, females. No shade if y'all friends.
Yeah, okay, all right.
If y'all are representing us wrong, come on now, because that's not truly how all of us feel.
Okay. Well, we're gonna wind this down. It's time to wrap it up.
It's been so much fun.
I want to go. It has. It's been great. Ma'at, thank you for coming and gracing our presence. Queenie, for sure. I mean, it's funny because I've been aiming to reach out to you for a long time. It's been maybe like 8 months since about end of July, August. So we made it happen. So that's great. Obviously, Rick, my big bro, and Stan, my little bro, my younger bro. It's always a pleasure. Ma'at, go ahead and give us your final thoughts.
So just from the last few things that were being said, the first thing that comes to mind is just it starts at an early age when it comes to the way that boys and girls are looked at differently. And so then that goes on to our relationship. So we know, if we look at the statistics, when it comes to boys and the way that they're abused sexually, it's not even something that, and most boys are not going to admit that, right? Like, but at the same time, it's like, it's there, the evidence is there. And sometimes society laughs it off. like, you know, where you really were abused that way and things like that. So, but when it happens to little girls, then, you know, and not even little girls, teenage girls, young women, it's, you know, it's really thought of seriously. So, you know, that to me is where it kind of stems from. It stems from childhood and how men are supposed to be seen, boys are supposed to be seen. You're supposed to be like, you know, you're supposed to have that bravado, and girls are supposed to be protected. So when it comes to relationships and something happens like that, when it comes to money or taking half, it's like, oh, well, he deserved it. You know, it's kind of like, that's just the automatic reaction from most people in society, especially women, because a lot of us have been mistreated too. So we're like, okay, hand clap. So a man is getting what he deserves, you know? So that is what is the mindset in most women, because we're talking about society and what has been projected onto the whole of society. We're having the conversation and we're saying, you know, I have 2 boys and 2 girls. So we have 2 boys and 2 girls. So it's, you know, when we talk to our children, we have to talk to them on both sides. We have to tell our girls how to act when it comes to their brothers. We have to tell our sons how to act when it comes to their sisters, and then what is perceived from you when you go out into society. And so the conversations that we have to have with one another, it boils down to communication. We teach our kids that all the time. It's how you communicate with one another. Right. So if we can have these conversations and we can kind of take off those blinders or those filters that we have when it comes to all the things that we deal with in society, with one being white supremacy, then, you know, that takes a lot of intentional work, because if I am thinking one way about men and that stems from my childhood, then, you know, that's going to be an issue with my relationships in the future and with any relationship. And if my value is entirely stemmed into even me as a woman, if I only think of my value as what I can do for a man, then that's going to be, you know, and I can't do certain things, then, you know, that's going to be an issue within my relationship. So that's the biggest thing, I think, is our values. Where are they stemming from? What are they based in? How do we unlayer that and be able to communicate and say, I'm hurt by Black men, but I know you're not the totality of Black men. And Black men can say the same thing to us and understand that we're not the totality of Black women.
Right. I agree.
Yes, indeed.
Rick, closing thoughts.
I thought it was interesting. She kind of shocked me when she talked about the abuse of men, because, I mean, I don't talk about it like it's trauma, but I lost my virginity at 14 to a 21-year-old woman with 3 children. And I was a little kind of embarrassed at first. You know, I stayed in the house for like 2 days until I found out, like, that it was a good thing for my reputation. Like, oh, you slept with this person? And I was like, yeah. Oh, yeah, she told everybody. So then I was like, oh, I can come back outside, you know. But I was in the house for like 2 days not telling nobody what was wrong, because honestly, I didn't know what was going on for real. I was like, I thought she broke my stuff, you know? Like, I was like, oh, what just happened? I was home humble. I was just like, I don't know what happened. She broke my thing. I'm damaged for life. I had no clue what happened. At that age, everybody thought I had already been around the block, and I had no clue. And that girl caught me. But so I brought it up because that is something that if it were the other way around, it would be like, it would just really be looked at as that guy was a bad person. You know, if a 21-year-old guy with 3 kids took advantage, and she forcefully, it wasn't even just her. It was her she was in the apartment with 3 of her girlfriends. And here I'm gonna walk my little slinky, little probably 120-pound butt over there. They're about 5'9", 5'10", probably 110 pounds. All of them had 30, 40 pounds on me. And I came over there and she was just like, oh, you're not leaving here without giving me some. And it was 4 of them. And, you know, I kind of had mixed emotions. Like I could have knuckled up, but then I was just like, I didn't know how I was supposed to respond to the situation. And eventually the wrestling, I got tired. So, you know, she just had her way with me. And eventually I just kind of resided in the fact that, well, if I just let it happen, then it'll be out of the way. Right? 'Cause otherwise I didn't really know how it was going to get out of the way, because everybody actually had already thought, you know, I was like kind of one of the cool kids. So everybody thought I had already been there. So I was like, well, she solved the problem for me, but I didn't want her to be the one to solve it. And I definitely didn't want, you know, nothing to do with some girl with 3 kids at, you know, 14 years old. So yeah, abuse is looked at differently when it's a man. All kinds of abuse. I mean, I could play a practical joke on a woman and she could haul off and slap me and everybody would be like, well, that's what you get for playing games. But a man couldn't do that. I couldn't slap a woman for playing a practical joke on me. And I couldn't slap my woman for cheating on me. So abuse needs to be looked at as abuse across the board. Yeah, that's one thing that will help a lot of these other things down the line. Taking and thinking that men don't hear women when they complain. I think a lot of men do. You just don't know what to do. You're not giving us. If you're unhappy, then you're just saying, I'm unhappy. And we're like, I don't know what to do. I go to work, I pay the bills. That's what you said you wanted. I don't know, right? And I think that a lot of men are blindsided by divorce, but I don't think that they're just walking around thinking that their woman is happy either. I just don't think that they think they're going to actually divorce them.
They think it's a phase that they'll.
I think, hey, we going to Puerto Rico next month. I mean, she'll be all right, or she'll be all right. Hey, man, she go out with her girlfriend. She'll be all right. She'll get drunk. She'll get high. Oh, she just having emotion. She might be great. Come on her period. But because we got a result, we don't know what else to do. We don't know what else to do. If a man is unhappy, he can tell his woman exactly what she could do to make him happy. Now, it may not be safe for him to tell her. I just had a woman ask me, hey, Rico, how come? And I said, well, you smoke and you wear too much makeup. I think you're attractive without the makeup. I don't understand why you wear it. I don't care for it. You wear too much of it. And I think it takes away from you. And I don't like those lashes that you wear. And on top of that, it's very difficult for me to get a point across to you. And I said, and that's the biggest thing. I just can't get a point across to you. So she took it. But remember the old song 3 days later, she came back and dropped, and she laid into me. She was like, you judgmental, and just because I smoke, I could quit smoking one. And I was just like, man, you asked me.
She probably had a conversation with one of her girlfriends.
Yeah, but he's saying that I don't want to date you because you smoke. It's not me being judgmental. It's just saying that I don't want to do that. You smoke, and it's very difficult for me to get a point across to you. Those are the biggest things for me. Oh, and then you don't want anything to do with taking better care of yourself. Nothing. So I don't want that because I feel like I'm already getting fat. I don't want to be around somebody who feels like it's okay to not take care of yourself, because I think that I had the potential to snowball. I don't want to be around somebody like that because it's going to get worse. I'll be 300 pounds tomorrow. And I don't want that. But I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, hey, that's not for me. I'm not saying you're wrong for being that way. I'm just saying that's just not for me. And so the communication thing, I think men could communicate if it were safe to do so, but it's oftentimes not.
Right.
Sounds like the Cam Newton discussion from a couple of weeks ago.
Queenie?
Oh yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. Oh wait, I did. What was that?
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Queenie, your final thoughts.
Where to start? My aunt,
Chop me up.
My aunt, you dropped so much, and I can appreciate what you said. So much of that. And Ricardo, you remind me so much of my brother that I hope he watches this. You know, you have said a lot of things. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, I can see that.
But I can appreciate it. I can appreciate your transparency. And my heart breaks when you tell the story about your sexual experience, because as a woman, I can feel all of that. I know what that's like. And so we may laugh it off and kind of make it seem like, you know, as a guy, it's kind of like, hey, I scored, an older woman, but it's still assault nonetheless. And so my heart goes out to that little boy, or that boy that experienced that when you're telling that story. So I just wanted to tell you that because I felt all of that. I don't know, AK, I don't even know where to start. I guess, you know, to women, we are not always right, and we don't have it all figured out, and we have been misled oftentimes in our thinking, and I think that we do have to create safe spaces for men, especially for those good men that are in our lives. I think we have to work on our hurt and our pain, and we need to work through that so that we can offer our better selves. And so I'm really speaking to those women that are 40 and above. I can easily talk to the young girls, but you know, I'm in the 40 and plus, and these are my, you know, this is my tribe. And so I know we're hurting, and I know we are, you know, we feel attacked often, and I know we're constantly feeling like we're competing against young women. We're competing against women of other races. We're competing against women with long hair, with relaxed hair, with this, with that. We have all of this, all of these, light skin, dark skin. We have all these voices that are coming at us, and we don't truly understand our value because it's always moving. But I think that we just have to, you know, we have to really go inside of ourselves and stand in that, and the right person will find that and respect that. And when we talk about our femininity, I get it. You know, it's justified that we have to sometimes feel like we need to walk in masculinity and all these. I get it. But, you know, there's a beauty in femininity. There's some masculine men out there that will allow us to be our feminine self. Seek that. And I think that in that space, we'll be able to find joy and partnership. And, you know, lastly, to our men, a lot of times what I hear is just hurt. It's just unhealed wounds. That's really it. And, you know, when I hear some men talk, I want to say, who hurt you? I really want to say that, but then I'll trigger them. And so I try not to say it. But I believe that the men, I'm not a man, but I believe that you have to figure out where your hurt began and go back there, because it's not all women that did it. Even if it was your mom, I'm still not representation of all women. I'm not a representation of your mom. So I think that we have to be fair and understanding that it wasn't all women that did it. And we also have to take accountability. So men, take accountability for who you are and where you stand, and the stinking thinking that all of us sometimes have. Mm-hmm. I think we are the problem. We meaning women, men. I don't think it's one or the other. So I wish us all well, love and peace. And I'm still on my own journey, so I'm still learning. So everything I'm telling you, I'm applying to my own life daily. So that's all I have. And thank you.
Thank you. Great words. Great words. Sweet Jones.
I try to be quick. The who hurt you crowd. Somebody hurt us. You know what I'm saying? We ain't making this shit up. You know what I'm saying? Just because it sounds cool to ask a man who hurt you when a man is sounding off on what a woman or some woman has done. Somebody hurt us. You know what I'm saying? Just like you get hurt. And that's not for anybody on this panel, but it's for anybody who may see this. You know what I'm saying? That's just a real deal, a real thing. But I think in summation, we can all agree that there's no blueprint to this. You know what I'm saying? There's not a one path. There's not one path to happiness. You know what I'm saying? And I just keep going back to what I said. If we just can learn to be partners with each other, we might not always agree. We might not always be able to accommodate, but we can always, communicate and try to have some level of understanding for what the next person desires or what they need, or what they ask of you. If we can just give that to each other, I think we'll be a lot better off.
Amen. Yeah, I appreciate that. So I will, again, I'll close and by saying that I really believe that discussions like this are productive. I think it's good for us to come together and express things from our own unique perspectives, or from the perspective of, the women's side and from the men's side. I do believe that we need to talk to each other instead of talking past each other. One of the things that on social media, the one thing I never wanted to be exactly like, because I know someone in the audience accused me of being the manosphere, right? Let me see. I can't remember what her name is. Tammy something. Manifesting Tammy. You said what?
Oh, that's my friend.
Okay, yeah. And so she's like, oh, great, another manosphere. But
I told you she was gonna be like.
Oh yeah, I mean it's cool. Listen, man. Listen, when it comes to that, like criticism like that, I'm kind of impervious, man. It just bounces off me. I don't care, because at the end of the day, I know that I value women. I value Black women.
Yes.
I love Black women. I know that we cannot do this alone. And my only interest is that, we have to end the recrimination. It's your fault. It's our fault. It's your fault. It's my fault. But the thing is, one side can't be pointing the finger and the other side accepting the blame. Like, we both have to come to the table and say, you know what? You're right. I do this, and what can I do to work on it to make our situation better? We both have to do that, right? Relationship is about give and take. It can't be one side taking, and another side giving. It can't be that way. It won't work. And so it's the reason why, I haven't been pressed to have like an all male panel, because I do want both sides represented. And I think that the women represented well today, and I thought it was a fruitful and productive discussion. But that's just my opinion. Hopefully, we can continue to have more of these dialogues, and you guys are welcome back anytime. You and I are in the same circle, so we'll bump into each other. I've been on your platform once or twice. So, and it's always been a pleasure. Queenie, it was awesome. Everything I thought it would be. It was awesome. But I will wrap with that. If you guys can hang tight for just 2 minutes, I want to bid the audience a great evening, a good evening. If you can be sure to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button so you can see more of this content. I wish you well. Remember to keep an open mind, think for yourself, and stay lit. AK on fire.